All right, Thursday night, Dieter's in the house, one of our most popular streams of the week. 49ers have finished the offseason program. They've got 40 days until training camp. We'll make sense of it all right now. Join us. Off and running Thursday night on the Krug Show. Dieter's in the house. We're going to have a great time tonight. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. Thanks to Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. And he's a great follow on Instagram at Sharp Corners 831 on the gram, as the kids like to say. And the show is also brought to you by LearnKeys Upskill Academy, an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less. So whether you're interested, it could be IT, it could be cybersecurity, it could be marketing, it could be a number of high-demand fields. They offer over 30 certification programs to help people take that next step in their professional career. They've been in business for 37 years. They helped over 200,000 students along the way. And they place about 100 students, every graduates of their program, in well-paying jobs every month. So check them out, LearnKey Upskill Academy. And thanks to all of our sponsors for sponsoring the Krug Show. We appreciate all of you guys. And, of course, if you want to help the show, support the show, watch the show, but shop the sponsors always helps. All right, let's get right into it. I thought tonight we could get into kind of where this whole thing sits. It's like I had a couple buddies of mine going, I don't follow the Niners on the off season, but I've heard you doing your Niners nightly, and I've heard you talking about the Niners all the time. The guy called me this afternoon. He's like, "What do you really think? What do you really think?" I go, "What do you mean? What do I really think? You lying on the show?"
You've been holding back on us, Lair?
Yeah. Well, now if you ask me what I really think, and then in that case, that's all I needed to unlock.
You're not a complete shill, Larry. What do you really think?
Oh, well, everything that I said on the air, the opposite.
Yes.
No. I once again, like anything, I mean, I can see, the potential across the board, and I can see the problems across the board. So I thought tonight what we could do is start off our live stream and just kind of go through the roster position by position, and let's go best case, worst case on how this thing could go. And why don't we start with the quarterback, with Purdy? I mean, I think best case scenario is he has like a 40 touchdown, 10 interception year, throws for 4,000 yards. The Niners win 14 games. They clinch the number 1 seed, and he leads them to a berth in Super Bowl 60 at Levi's, and somehow is the last man standing in his home stadium when the confetti drops. I don't know if it goes up or whatever. I don't know.
They'll have a
cannon.
Where to
drop it from.
I'm sure they can
they'll have a confetti cannon. Yeah. So, or do you? That's the positive. That's the upside. The downside is, I don't know. I mean, the downside is what? Brock turns it over repeatedly. In 2024 was just a little bit of foreshadowing of what was to come, or gets hurt, and we're looking at a season of Mac Jones or Tanner Mordecai or both. How do you see the quarterback position? What are the variables here? What's the best we can expect? What's the worst?
I think either way, you're going to have a lot of questions, and this is not to pivot the conversation. It's just important because the quarterback position, at least as we talk about Brock Purdy, or people outside of our realm talk about Brock Purdy, it seems to be so dependent on others, right? Brock couldn't do anything himself. Other quarterbacks get credit for the things that they do. Brock is merely just a product of his environment. So let's look at the environment. I don't think that they're going to have exceptional wide receivers, at least when we talk about name brand, elite level players that everybody knows. You're going to have some real questions beyond Christian McCaffrey at running back with both Garendo and James and maybe Pat Taylor, maybe Kiner, who's to say. The offensive line, while I'm bullish on them, is not a unit that people around the NFL are looking at and saying, wow, what a unit. Like, it's Trent Williams and a bunch of guys that everyone goes, oh, okay. So what is Brock Purdy's peak? It's what you just laid out. And I think even a step beyond that, we never hear again people say, oh, well, Brock is just Kyle's guy and he has all this talent behind him. The best case scenario for Brock Purdy is he not only succeeds in a way that puts the 49ers in an incredible position at the end of the season, but he also succeeds without the supposed help that he's apparently had all this time. So now you can't even just call him a game manager. All of the stigma floats away. He becomes known as one of the league's elite and the true driving force of this offense, because he is. And anywhere they go, he's going to take them there. The downside, and to leave injury out of this, is he doesn't have that supporting cast around him, right? He doesn't have an elite crew. The high-end talent of this offense is lesser than it was last year. And we saw, as you noted, some of the warts in Brock Purdy's game really show, particularly late when he was forcing things. And if he's forcing things from week one because his wide receivers are still getting no separation, he's still getting pressured too often. Christian McCaffrey isn't, in fact, all the way back. And even if he is, he can't give you the workload that he once did. George Kittle misses any time whatsoever. If any of those things happen, or heaven forbid, all of those things happen, now you have Brock Purdy running for his life, throwing into tight windows, trying to do anticipatory throws, not in the cool way, but in the this is the only way to complete a pass way that he was doing late last year. And you have not just lesser statistical numbers, you also have just back-breaking turnovers. So even in close games, he now looks like the reason that they're losing it, albeit as part of an overall collective of crap. And just to take it one step back, there's, you look at this team, and the quarterback is so directly tied to this team. I don't think that it's outlandish at all with the talent that they have, which I do believe is lesser on the high end and lower on the low end, but it's enough with this schedule. They can absolutely be the cream of the crop in the NFC. Put them in one game, I like their chances, right? And we'll have a much different opinion of this team in December, January, and perhaps even February. They'll have a little bit more credit than they certainly have right now coming off a 6-win season. The flip side of that is this roster, while there might be some interesting roster battles on the bottom end of it, there's a lot of dudes that just haven't proved it at the NFL level, be it because they're veterans that have been tossed around a bunch, or they're straight up rookies, and they're being asked to play significant roles on this team. That plus some injuries now creates a lot of the same issues that we saw last year with depth. And I can see a circumstance where we note that this team has 3 division games in the first 6 weeks. And if they lose all 3 of those games, and you're looking at no chance really of winning the division, and who knows what the record is, 2-3, 2-4, whatever. And the Niners turning around and being like, oh, well, we were never supposed to win this year. Did you see all the free agents we got rid of? Like, no, it's always been about 26. It's ridiculous that you thought we can win this year. That's the worst case scenario. And honestly, Brock is the guy who can take them to any height that they want to go. And he can also be the reason that we're talking about 2026 very early in the 2025 season. Unfair to Brock, perhaps, but heavy's the head that lies the crown. And when you got the big fat visa, you're going to get a lot of credit and you're going to get a lot of blame.
It's interesting. I think this is the area, this is the position where, really anything could happen. But, I actually think that this area is actually been upgraded. I just think it's just nobody really acknowledges it yet because everybody knows Debo. You lost Debo. Oh my God, you lost Debo. You'll never replace Debo. It's like, so because he's got such a big rep, everybody thinks he's so special.
I'm with you.
But I think there's a very good chance that Brock Purdy throws for the first time in a Niner uniform to guys who are open. I think there's gonna be guys getting more separation this year. Okay. I think Brock is gonna be throwing to open guys, and I think it's gonna look. I think you're gonna see the Niner receivers get more separation. The names aren't gonna be as big, but the games I think are gonna be bigger. So I think Brock has a good year because I think there are more guys who can separate, and he's so used to throwing to guys who are just blanketed, covered left and right, that I think that's going to be refreshing. And it's not just that they've got speed, because they do have some speed, but they also added DeMarcus Robinson, and Robinson understands how to free himself open. I mean, that's how this guy does it in the NFL. He's not fast, but he makes plays down the field because he knows how to get that separation while the ball's in the air. So I think even though there's no Debo, there's no Ayuk, and it's easy to look at this and go, oh, no Debo, no Ayuk, they're screwed. I actually kind of think Brock's going to play well because I think these receivers are going to get more separation. I think it's going to make his job easier.
Listen, I'd like to be bullish because I'm a big fan of Pearsall, and I see what Cowing has done. But you're going to start the season with 5 wide receivers. I imagine that Robinson will eventually be suspended for the first 3 games. Hasn't happened yet, so maybe it's not wishful thinking, but it's going to happen, right? And then Ayuk's going to start on PUP. So your 5 receivers to start the season are Jennings, Pearsall, Cowing, Watkins, and Junior Bergen, unless they want to keep a veteran. That is uninspiring for the first 3 weeks. And I like Watkins. I'm not sure I want to throw Watkins out there for the Wolves, but if you're the 4th receiver, you're going to see some reps. I like Cowing. We're going to need to see more. I'm not willing to just put it in pen right now that he's an actual dude, but he's your starting slot. And, you note Robinson and the separation, Jennings did not separate, and it became a real issue for this team late in the year, which is why Pearsall's final 2 games were so encouraging because he was clearly separating against man. But if Pearsall isn't playing and practicing, I mean, I don't know if you can count on him given that he's been out longer than he's been in, and that removes the shooting aspect even from things. I'm not sure I can buy into the separation. I do like where your head's at with, hey, Debo's not here. They force-fed Debo way too often. This might be a more organic offense, more egalitarian offense. They're certainly going to be a bit more spread out, a bit more of a drop-back offense. But it wouldn't shock me at all for the 49ers to look at this receiver room, particularly early in the year, and say, we are paying Luke Farrell a good deal of money. Let's go to a lot more 2 tight end sets and see what that looks like and get George Kittle out into routes a little bit more often as a receiver. So not a bad thing, a good option for sure. But when we talk about separation, I outside of Pearsall and perhaps Cowing, for the first 3 weeks at least, I don't know what this Robinson situation is going to be, you don't have man-to-man beaters, and that was something that they really did not figure out at all last season and really only had a hint of being better at in the final 2 games when they really didn't have anything to play for. So until I see it, I can't just presume it's going to be there. Certainly best case scenario, they beat man-to-man. Now you don't know what the hell to defend them against with. You have to go back to zone. Now you're getting cooked by zone. Now you're going, man, they can beat you in every which way. That's the ideal. That's the way that they want this team to operate. But they got to prove it. And if they can't prove it for a stretch, that could be a real big issue because now you get predictable because you can only run so many things that can free guys up. You got a lot of overlapping routes on one side. Competent defensive coordinators, of which there aren't enough of, frankly, are going to eat that alive. And I certainly think that the defensive coordinators in the 49ers division, at the very least, are very competent. So, best scenario running back wise. I mean, McCaffrey. And this is kind of a tough one because I think the best scenario is that McCaffrey isn't 100% at the beginning. Okay.
And that forces them to give Garendo a real shot, and then Garendo takes advantage of that shot, and they wind up being in a much more of a shared role. I think that, to me, is the good news if that could happen, because I think, ultimately, I think we've already seen this movie. I mean, if you feature CMC all year, you might get to the playoffs, and he might win the offensive reigning. He might be the
probably should have been the MVP that year.
Yeah, he may win the MVP. He may win the offensive player of the year. But ultimately, what's it about at this point? I mean, the guy's already won the offensive player of the year. I think he'd like to win the Super Bowl. And to me, if you want to win the Super Bowl, you got to get to the Super Bowl, and then you got to get that guy fully rested in the Super Bowl, and then you have to use him in that game, and he's going to have to be huge and not fumble and be, kind of like a Saquon Barkley last year for the Eagles. I mean, to me, that's the scenario. It's like the best scenario is that, and this is why this thing's a little tricky. I mean, some people would say the best scenario is CMC's the same guy he was a couple years ago. Okay, well, yeah,
How
but
far is
then
that
then it's going to be the same thing, where it's going to be all CMC because he's better than everybody, all the other options, and then they're going to get to January and he's not going to be quite CMC, and then they're going to get into Super Bowl Sunday and it's going to be like, can you carry CMC to the finish line instead of him carrying you?
Yeah.
And I think if they're going to get this thing done, he has to be the lead dog on Super Bowl Sunday, the way he was the lead dog for Stanford against Iowa in the Rose Bowl that one year, where if you can get into a big, big game and you can get a fresh CMC, you got a great chance to win that game at any level. So my ideal dream scenario is actually one that cracks the door open for Garendo, allows him to get a few weeks to establish himself, and then it's a shared deal between at least the two of them and maybe some of the other guys as well. That's kind of what I'm rooting for. I'm not rooting for 400 touches for CMC. I'm rooting for a more of a 50-50 split where Garendo is clearly next, but that seat where CMC is really okay with it because he sees the vision of the combo monster back that leads them to the Super Bowl.
I'm not sure a 50-50 split is ideal. Obviously, that'd be great for Garendo, and
Garendo would have to be damn good to get that.
That's right, and I just don't see I don't feel his feel for the running back position just as of yet. Now, he is clearly a specimen, and it might not matter if he knows what he's doing as a running back because he's just that fast and that big. So my best case scenario is a little different. I'm with you in that it does not involve Christian McCaffrey going full offensive player of the year again. Mine involves Jordan James, though, to where Jordan James takes the role that, frankly, Jordan Mason should have had with Christian McCaffrey in that MVP caliber year, which is I'm going to handle some of the between the tackle stuff here. Might be a little bit predictable, but I'm going to handle some between the tackle stuff, some goal line stuff. I'm going to be your power back on this team, and I'm going to spell you for a series every now and again when we just want to run the damn ball. We don't need versatility. We just want to run the damn ball. And Jordan James gets 15, 20% of snaps at running back, 15, 20% of the carries. Christian McCaffrey is still the workhorse, still the man, still the chess piece that no one knows how to play with. But then you use Garendo as, and this is not fair to Garendo, but as the outlet for Kyle Shanahan's creativity that was so funneled to Deebo Samuel for so long. Now you have a weapon that nobody else should know what to do with in Isaac Garendo. And I include maybe the 49ers in not knowing what to do with it. Because is he really a running back, or is he a slot receiver, or is he even an H-back? He's kind of all of this stuff. And he's just somebody that you want to put the ball in the hands of with space to run straight ahead as fast as he can. Find ways to utilize him. If he does nothing but catch swing passes all year, he's scoring 5 times. Like, he is that special of an athlete when we talk about size and speed. So I want to see him almost have a separate role of running back. I want him to be almost exclusively a gadget player who's always on the field, sometimes with McCaffrey, sometimes with James, sometimes with Juszczyk, sometimes with, I want him on the field just creating chaos for the opposing defense because they don't know what to do with him, and sort of be an inverse Deebo to where, or maybe more of a Devon Achane from the Dolphins, where they made him the slot receiver last year. He is just somebody who is out there as an agent of chaos, somebody that Kyle Shanahan thinks of interesting ways to get touches, whereas McCaffrey can just do the McCaffrey thing, right? He's exceptional. He's great. You don't have to think of really creative ways to get Christian McCaffrey the ball. He's kind of a traditional player who can just do everything. And then Jordan James takes on almost like a hybrid Elijah Mitchell, J.P. Mason role, where he's just going to be the juggernaut back, the battering ram of a back. And of course, in this all, health is vitally important because after them, yes, you can feel okay about Corey Kiner or Israel Abanikanda, but frankly, they're going to keep 4, 5 including Juszczyk, and the 4th one is going to be Patrick Taylor. And Patrick Taylor is there strictly for special teams because I don't know what the hell he does for you as an actual from scrimmage running back. He's there as a white flag of sorts. If he's playing as an actual running back, something has gone horribly wrong, and you should probably be watching a different channel. But he's going to be on because he's awesome on special teams. So the best case
Kev,
scenario,
by the way, Kev said turn up your mic a little bit.
Okay, I'd be happy to, Kev. Thank you.
Yeah.
Regardless, while I get to that, Patrick Taylor is going to make this team. He's the 4th running back, and in that, you need health from McCaffrey, Guerendo, and James. So I think utilizing all 3 of them early to maybe divvy up some of that load. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's maybe the way I would handle it so that you don't have it all on McCaffrey. You're not then asking Guerendo to take on maybe more than he can handle at this juncture, and you get James involved too. So it's very similar to what you were saying, but I think Guerendo is almost used as a separate entity. He's almost not a running back. He's like a different position, and you're working with McCaffrey and James, and you're praying that Patrick Taylor never has to see the field.
I'll make a prediction. I don't think Patrick Taylor makes this team this year. I think the other guys will outplay him in the preseason. He did play well, I thought, last year, and I thought he showed good hands. He catches the ball well.
Yeah.
But I think he is the guy that will get through the waivers, where other guys won't get through waivers. Most likely, we'll see. We'll see if Jordan James or Corey Kiner or Izzy or any of these guys flash in the preseason, because these other guys are going to have to flash in the preseason, or at least Kiner and Abanikanda are going to have to flash
without question
to get plucked away. I like Taylor, but I'm not sure what to expect here. I'll say this about the running backs. How Shanahan utilizes his running backs will determine if they win this year, I think, because, the bottom line on this thing is that you can't run McCaffrey. You can't just be super, super stubborn and be like, well, McCaffrey's my best back, so I'm just going to run McCaffrey, because you're not going to get to the finish line.
Right.
When you win games, and they're going to win games this year, they play some really bad teams. They're going to have games where they're putting the game away for most of the last quarter and a half, and they're going to have to put it away with somebody that's not named Christian McCaffrey. Yes. And if they put it away with Christian McCaffrey all year, that's fine, but they won't be there. He won't be there at the end. Yeah. So, and then they won't win at the end unless these other guys are really great. So, if all these backs are awesome, if you get to camp and Guerendo's awesome, Jordan James is awesome. By the way, you know how many people are going to call him James Jordan this year?
Oh, so many, including me.
Tons. But Jordan James, if he's awesome, if Corey Kiner's awesome, if Abanikanda, if all these guys look great, then what they can do whatever the heck they want. But if McCaffrey really is, super special, I think you got to have, and we know he is if he's healthy, you got to have the finisher. You got to have the Elijah Mitchell. You can't finish with McCaffrey. So I'm not sure what it's going to look like. I'm really not sure, because Guerendo is so big and so fast, so scary as far as his potential, that, there is no limits for him. And Jordan James, I thought, had one run the other day where I was like, whew, he looked pretty good. And I know he didn't run great stopwatch 40 time, but he looked pretty quick there.
Yep.
Kiner looks slower to me, but Kiner also has this incredible heart. So I think it's going to be incredible watching. I love the depth in the backfield this year. I like Abanikanda. I'm on record as saying that. So I like these guys, and I think the running backs look good. But to me, it's all about usage. It's not even about who has a big year. It's like, got to get Christian to the playoffs, ready to lead you. Now, tight end is interesting, because I agree with your assessment from a few weeks ago that we're going to see more 12 personnel. We're going to see more 2 tight ends, because they're not going to take Kittle off the field, but they're going to want to have Kittle in the pattern. And so you're still going to need a blocker. And then Luke Farrell is clearly the biggest blocker they've had either since Charlie Warner, or maybe even before
he's better
Warner.
than Warner, frankly.
We'll see. I mean, Warner was kind of dogged in his determination. This guy looks like he's got some more natural gifts.
Yeah.
The competition here is going to be for the other four guys for that one receiving spot. I mean, it's like Kittle's going to make it, Farrell's going to make it, and then Dwelly, Willis, Tongus, and Pline are going to battle for one spot. I think. I don't think they're going to go with 4 tight ends. I think they'll go with 3.
I think
there's too many other positions of need. So, what is it going to look like? I would say it's going to look like Kittle's going to have a big year, and Farrell's going to be really useful.
Okay.
And
who makes it? Who's the third?
Oh, I think it's probably Pline.
Wow.
I would say Pline.
I
would say the guy
last.
for sure. Well, I mean, Willis is not even playing tight end. Willis is playing fullback at times. So I don't. And Willis looks like a fullback. He's short. I mean, he's a 6'1" and change tight end. So Willis is not a tight end. Tongus has no strength.
Nope.
And Dwelly doesn't either. So I think this is going to be, unless Pline can't do it. And I thought there were glimpses already in this camp of good things. Pline's really smart, and I think he's a better receiver than those. I think he's a better receiver than Willis. I think he's not as good a receiver as Tongus or Dwelly.
Right.
But I think he's more physical than those guys. So I think he'll be Kittle and Farrell and Pline.
I wouldn't be shocked if there's a third tight end that we don't know about yet. Yeah. That said,
that's possible.
Ross Dwelly seems to be on the roster because George Kittle wants him on the roster, and he hung around for a lot longer than anyone else thought he would. So what's to say he doesn't make it again? At least he knows the plays. That's where the worst-case scenario comes in, where you're running Luke Farrell as your 1 and Ross Dwelly as your 2 for an extended period of time, or you're trying Braden Willis as an actual tight end for an extended period of time, or you're having to find somebody off a practice squad mid-season because you just don't have the depth, and or you're trading for Jonnu Smith on October 1st because damn it, George ripped something.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the down scenario is George gets hurt. I mean George gets hurt is the nightmare scenario, but if George
they're
doesn't
a little more
hurt,
insulated from that than in past years, ironically. Like this is the year that you can almost afford George to get hurt more than others, and it's still a catastrophic scenario for this team because of what we said with wide receiver, where he needs to be. He might need to be the primary pass catching target for the first 3 weeks of the season, depending on how strong out of the gates Juwan Jennings comes and how he's able to separate. But it looks like they want to go with Jennings at X. They want to go with Robinson at Z whenever he comes back. I don't know if Pearsall fits in at X or Z or at flank. And then Cowing is your slot guy. An ideal world, and not to push the conversation too far forward, would have been that you have, you put Robinson at X, you have Pearsall at Z, and then you can move Jennings from X into the flank on third down. But it doesn't seem like that's the way they want to go based on the formations they've been showing, which is, of course, limited and not terribly informative.
Pearsall can play this. I mean, Jennings obviously has played most of his career in the slot. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he's your
for
big
good reason.
Slot.
He needs that gap. He needs that gap because he just can't break off the line.
And he's your blocker. He's your crackback blocker too. But I mean, so he's your big slot. But then you got Cowing. And he can play the slot.
He's your little slot.
And then you've got, Pearsall and Robinson. And I think Pearsall and Robinson would probably be the starters. I mean, based on what I've seen. Now, obviously, we haven't seen Pearsall. But
we might not see Robinson.
Expecting Pearsall to get a little bit better, I would say the starters are Jennings, Pearsall, and Robinson. And the backups are Cowing and Watkins and Bergen. There's a couple things that I saw, though, this week that have impacted my thoughts on the wide receivers. Okay. One, Isaiah Nair is absolutely monster, size, speed, freaky guy.
Yeah.
But
and then what?
Well, no, I was going to say he caught an out pattern yesterday up against he body caught an out pattern. And I don't think I've seen a wide receiver even attempt to body catch an out pattern in like 5 years.
It's
been a long time.
He's an awful wide receiver.
He's not. He's just not. That right there just screams, I'm not ready. I mean, you don't catch ready. You don't catch the ball like that unless it's freshman football. You don't freshman football called he literally tried to corral. He dropped it, but he tried to corral it. He tried, in his arms up against his body.
It was unbelievable.
I couldn't believe he even attempted it.
I have not seen that. It's so amateur.
Yeah,
it's amateur. A professional does not do that. Now, if you need your body because hey, it gets through your hands a little bit or something, but to let the ball come all the way to you, and then let it hit your chest plate, and then try to pin it to your chest plate
from an angle.
Angle.
You're talking about an angle pass. You're talking about a pass from the middle of the field to the sideline.
The only time that's acceptable is if you're in the middle of the field and the quarterback has stupidly thrown a football between 9 men, and somehow, without you really knowing it, it's hit you because you couldn't see the football. That's the only time it's acceptable as a wide receiver to hit you in the chest. If it can hit you in the helmet, it can hit you in the chest.
It's got to surprise you. If you turned around and it surprised you, okay, fine. You catch it any way you need to catch it.
He was looking it all the way.
Yeah, I mean,
I was right there. I was right in front of him. And
Larry, it reminded me of freshman football, like freshman in high school football.
This is why he didn't get drafted, because every aspect of him is like, holy shit, this dude is a specimen. He went to Nebraska. He had Matt Rule as a head coach. You think about like Thornton from Tennessee, who is not a good receiver, but is fast as hell and tall. He went in the 4th round. I mean, they're just taking dudes on a whim once a day 3 starts, and this guy went undrafted. How bad of a receiver must you be? And you watch his tape at Nebraska, and you're like, oh, that bad. That's how bad you have to be, to the point where, I'm sorry, I forget the Patrick Mahomes lookalike quarterback that they have. Just stop throwing him the football like halfway through the year.
I mean, here's the thing on the wide receivers for the Niners, as far as I'm concerned. You need one more.
Yes.
You need one more. Because, I mean, Ayuk is going to be out for much of the year, and you don't know what you're going to get when he comes back. And then you got Pearsall and Jennings, and both of them have had injuries this year. And then you have Robinson, who's going to miss 3 games. You got a rookie in Watkins. Rookie receivers historically do very little. And then you got Cowing, and I like Cowing a lot, but he is a second-year guy. He is relatively small. Yeah. You got Bergen, who I think I would say this. Based on what I've seen, either the 49ers are going to add another receiver, or it's going to come down to Junior Bergen, who the special teams coach really loves and wants badly.
Drafted him.
And Isaiah Hodgins. And I think ultimately, after you watch, the whole preseason and everything, I think Hodgins is going to get that job. I really do. Hodgins is bigger. He's stronger. He's a real receiver with real skills.
Yeah.
He's not fast at all, but doesn't matter. They got other guys who are fast. He could be a very, very valuable possession receiver. Isaiah Hodgins has done it before. I mean, I really do think it's going to come down to Bergen and Nair and Hodgins and Knowles. Tariq Owens, no. Russell Gage, no.
No.
And I just think that Nair's really raw. Bergen's a return guy, and he, to me, unless he looks a whole lot better in the games than I've seen in practice, I would say no, just based on what I've seen. And then Knowles has got some nice ability. He's kind of like a poor man's Debo in some ways. He can run some of those routes, but Hodgins.
Wow, I would never have gone there.
Well, he's definitely that kind of a player. I mean, he's definitely But I mean, he's taller than Debo, but I think this is a run after the catch guy. He was a great kickoff return guy at K-State. That's what he was. He's an awesome kick returner. So I think he's kind of a run after the catch guy. But I don't love him, and he doesn't run that fast, even 4.48. So I just think my prediction on the receivers is that they're going to have to
Bergen
add
or
one.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
Gabe Davis is still out there.
Bergen
I'd
or
cut the check.
Hodgins or picking up somebody else. And I just think that looking around the league, there's more than a few teams that are going to wind up cutting receivers that are better than Bergen or Hodgins.
Yeah.
And so I think that I think that last receiver I think will come from outside.
They're going to be in a kind of a sticky situation too once Robinson comes back, because then you got to cut somebody, or maybe this all just takes care of itself with injuries and such.
Unless they go with one less early.
Yeah, and then now you're going to carry 6, I suppose, and then Ayuk comes back. By then, I'd imagine that there'd be pretty obvious roster moves, but
that could be November. I mean,
yeah,
you're talking about the beginning of the year.
Guys that are certain to make the roster at one position at the beginning, like not on the roster, that creates some trickiness down the line, but I guess a good problem to have if you felt better about Junior Bergen or whomever the 5th receiver was. The Bergen
I think Watkins is
strange.
Going to be good, but I think Bergen's going to fall on his face.
I just don't get it. I didn't get it in the moment. I didn't have, I deferred to the fact that it's a 7th round pick. Who gives a damn? And then 2, like, I don't have enough tape on the kid to really make a determination. He has been unimpressive. By the way, I have,
he caught a ball yesterday, but I mean, it was like,
I have,
that's the first one I saw.
I have Hodgins down for 3 drops. And I'm not one of those guys who's charting all the time, but I've marked him down of the 4 different days. I have drops on 3 of them marked down, which inauspicious, though I did like some of his drill work. And he's done it before, which matters. But you ain't kidding about the not being fast. I mean, Gabe Davis.
He's big. He's just slow.
Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal.
But I mean,
you already have
he's
one of those guys.
It's interesting. I mean, the football's changed. I mean, once upon a time, the Niners had Dwight Clark and Mike Wilson. I mean, it was like, and neither of those guys were fast. But now it's like it's a speed game. But you have Cowing, you have Watkins. Heck, you got Nair if you really want.
If you put Watkins and Cowing together, they'd be an elite receiver, because one of them could do everything short and the other one can do everything long, and they can't seem to do the opposite. Kind of a telltale. If one of those guys is on the field, you know what they're running, which not ideal for a wide receiver room to have guys who are basically tipping pitches.
The one part about the Niners that has surprised me, if you said, give me something about them that really is surprising to you. I thought when they traded for McCaffrey that they would use him in kind of an eclectic use, where it's like he's a running back, he's flexed out, now we're passing it to him. They don't use him very creatively at all.
They did that in 23. They for sure did that in 23.
But they didn't do it this year. They didn't do it last year. And I got to think that if Jordan James or Kiner or Garendo or any of the backs behind CMC play well, don't you think it makes a lot of sense, instead of going Luke Farrell, to just flex out CMC?
Yeah, it does. I would rather flex out Garendo. I mean, I think that that would be more fun. I want to move Christian McCaffrey around the formation to catch teams in the wrong personnel grouping and to put linebackers or safeties in conflict.
I'm just talking about lessening the hits on him by don't make him be the running back, by just flexing him out. Let him play receiver.
Yeah, but in Kyle Shanahan's offense, a lot of that ends up with being short passes for yards after the catch over the middle, in which case you're taking hits anyway. I mean, I guess it's lesser, but it's not to say that Deebo Samuel was taking plenty of hits too. As a wide receiver, it really just depends on what it is you can do. I don't see Christian McCaffrey as an Achane kind of player, but I can see who by the way, the Dolphins, if you don't already know, they just straight up used him as a wide receiver on a lot of sets and had Raheem Mostert in the backfield, or the other kid, I forget the name of the other running back that they had that they liked and ended up supplanting Mostert. Pardon? Yeah, right. Yes,
right.
Thank you. Yeah. But they had Achane on the field a lot, and they used him as a strict wide receiver a lot, not the flex out or anything. I think Garendo could maybe because he has a lot of similarities to Achane, a lot bigger, but straight line speed and all that. I think that would be a really fun thing to do. And I can't imagine that Kyle Shanahan didn't notice that during his off season, because I'm sure he spent some time with Mike McDaniel film, if not with Mike McDaniel himself. And I'm sure that was a topic of conversation or something that he noted watching the Dolphins last year, how they used Achane. And it will be interesting to see, because I would imagine that this is something, given the dearth of talent, or just the question marks would be the nicer way to put it, at wide receiver. And you can only ask so much of Kittle. You're not going to go Kittle full X receiver or anything like that. Where is it CMC or Garendo that they try to do in that role, if they indeed try to do it? I think it can open up some really fun possibilities. And again, to summarize all of this, like, I do think that the Niners are going to be a more spread out offense. I think that they're going to be a more pass first offense this year. I think they're going to be doing a lot more drop back as opposed to the sort of classic Kubiak play action. And they did that last year, but it was really hard to notice because they were so constantly losing that it felt like that was one, necessitated the other. I think they're going to do it on by choice this season. And I'm fascinated to see what that looks like, all things considered, and if it changes the perception around Kyle Shanahan's offense, in particular around Brock Purdy, because they're going to zag while everyone else is picking up all the things that the Niners had done for the last 4 or 5 years. They're going to go in an opposite direction because defenses have keyed in on that. So they're going to go maybe back to what defenses used to be keyed in on and attack them that way. All part of the fun game, but you need the talent to be able to execute that, and you really just need to put your best players on the field. I think that includes both CMC and Garendo, as opposed to maybe a Cowing or certainly a Watkins or a Bergen.
We're going to find out. I mean, one of these young guys may be able to play. If it's Watkins, then we'll probably see McCaffrey and Garendo in the backfield more. If it's Jordan James,
yeah.
What if Jordan? I mean, Dane Brugler thought Jordan James was one of the best running backs in the entire draft. Now, I don't necessarily share that, but who doesn't matter. If just for the sake of the conversation, let's just say he's right.
Sure.
And Jordan James is really a tremendous back. Well, then you may see Garendo and McCaffrey flexed out a lot just to get your best players on the field. I mean, if Jordan James is a terrific running back, let's just say for the sake of the conversation.
Sure. And
well,
I can see
then
it.
Jordan James and CMC and Garendo flexed out probably makes more sense than, sitting Jordan James on the bench and throwing the ball to Bergen or Hodgins or Cowing or any, So we'll see.
There's
in
a
some
pragmatism
ways,
that's necessary here for sure.
Well, I was just going to say, in some ways, these weapons, these Niners weapons, even though they don't play the same position, Jordan James, Corey Kiner, Watkins, Bergen, even Cowing to some
Farrell too.
Well, in a lot of ways, these guys are really competing against each other, because if one of these guys becomes a star, if Watkins is a star, Jordan James a star, if one of these guys is a star, then that guy's going to get on the field, and the other guys are going to move around to other spots, and they're going to get all their talent on the field. What's the upside, or what's the high and the low for this O-line? You were saying that you like this O-line.
I'm bullish on the O-line.
Obviously, if they lose Trent, that's the death blow.
I found
but
it.
But what do you think? I mean,
I feel better about that.
What's the best and worst case scenario here?
Well, I'm not sure it's as easy as just saying losing Trent, because I'm really bullish on Burford at left tackle. Like I probably going to sound like an idiot in 4 months when Trent's not there and it is Burford every day at left tackle. But I think he's got a chance to be really good at it. He looks natural in these drills, and you can only read so much in. It's not full contact. They're just going through drills. But I'll say this. It's really nice to have the high end, right? Trent Williams, he runs the drills. He creates, you just laugh. He's so good at them. It's so smooth. It's so pinpoint. Everything is perfect. I mean, this guy is a specimen. This is as good as it can be at the tackle position, and it's obvious in just drills and working on combo blocks and just the reps that Forster's putting them through right now. The second most impressive player in those same drills, to my eye, and there have been plenty, hasn't been Austin Pleasance. It's been Spencer Burford. And I don't think that there's a tremendous gap right now in drills, which again isn't football. But in these drills, I don't see a tremendous gap between Spencer Burford and Trent Williams. Now, there is. We know that there will be. But I feel better about Spencer Burford than I think I ever did about Jalen Moore. And Jalen Moore was a capable backup who got $15 million a year from Kansas City. Maybe I'm out over my skis on this one, but I'm all the way in. I'm buying all the stock in Burford at left tackle. They have Pleasance at right, so you have a viable backup now for McKivitz. So I feel really good about their tackle situation. I think that there's a scenario on the best case where you can say at the end of the year that they have the best tackle combo in the NFL, because I think that people are sleeping on Colton McKivitz really hard. I think they're holding on to prior receipts. I think that they refuse to acknowledge that he probably was their best offensive lineman last year and that he's a pretty damn good offensive lineman at a position where there's strictly not a lot of talent. There's like 5 really good guys and 20 really crappy guys, and he might be one of the best of the crappy guys, or maybe he's the 6th good guy. I don't know, but I think that people are sleeping on McKivitz. He's going to make himself a lot of money this year. We know what Trent Williams is. Their tackle situation's in a really good spot, and they have a tremendous amount of depth on the interior, right? You can go with Hennessy or Zakelj to back up Brendel, so at least you have some insulation there. Pooney faded a little bit at the end of last year, but has come in really sharp, and he picks up everything Firster lays on him, so I don't feel concerned that there's going to be a sophomore slump there. I feel like he can at least replicate his play from last year. And Barch is the guy. Barch is awesome. His tape from last year is limited but fantastic. He was so much better than a guy who got $77 million last year, and you can ask any offensive lineman in that room now that they can be honest about it, and they'll tell you that. Barch at left guard with backups like Moss and Colby or Zakelj, like, is it ideal? Would you prefer a little bit better backups or a little bit less question marks? Sure, but you're in a really good spot overall with this offensive line. Upside is this is a top 5 offensive line that you're saying has the best tackle combo in the league. And the downside is I'm an idiot, which is a very real possibility. And I'm completely overrating a bunch of dudes based on OTAs. And in fact, Brendel hasn't gotten better. And Barch does indeed suck. And Pooney's regression at the end of last year continues into 2025, and McKivitz isn't as good as I'm making him out to be, and Trent is injured, and Burford and Pleasance are fighting over that spot. Neither of them are good enough, and it all just sort of implodes from the interior, and this team can't protect Purdy, and it gets Christian McCaffrey injured, and they just can't even get an offense going, and Kyle has to come up with something to cover up for a terrible offensive line, and probably a couple people get fired in the process as well. It's the highest of highs. It's the lowest of lows. I cannot stop thinking about the 49ers offensive line, and I need training camp to be here so I can actually see some people hit each other, because it is consuming me with curiosity about this offensive line, because I can see it either way, and I think it will so define the 49ers 25 offense.
You know, it's funny. I'm way high on Pleasance.
You should be. He looks awesome.
Yeah, he does. He looks amazing. Here was the quote from Firster from the other day. He said last season, he's talking about Pleasance. He said last season when he signed here, I didn't see the speed, but now all of a sudden he's moving. He's just a giant that can really move, and I don't know what happened. I really think he's got something in there that's special. I just don't know how soon he'll be ready.
I'll say this, Lair. I think their plan on offensive line is brilliant. You look at how teams are overdrafting prospects. They're just taking guys on spec, like, oh, we can teach him. In 2 or 3 years, he'll get it all figured out, because the college game and the pro games have never been more different, and the learning curve for rookies is humongous. You see this with Connor Colby right now, where they ran a lot of inside zone at Iowa, and one of the reasons the Niners drafted him is, well, they ran a lot of the same stuff. And yet I'm standing there, and I mean, I'm standing there alone, Larry. People are making fun of me out there because I'm standing and just watching the offensive line and taking diligent notes and listening to everything Firster says. And this guy is going in on Connor Colby not knowing any of this shit. He doesn't know squat about how to run outside zone at the NFL level. And he coaches him hard because he loves him and he sees the potential. But like, that is a multi-year project to get him to know the system. And this is a guy who had a system that's as close to the NFL as you're going to get in college. So it makes Dominic Pooney's last season all the more impressive that, one, he was a tackle, and two, that he was that easily plug and play at guard. It makes Burford all that impressive back in the day, even though I think that there has been more separation since then. So you have all these teams looking to fix their offensive line through the draft. And so they're taking guys who aren't going to be ready for a year or 2 or 3. Now you got, that guy didn't work out, because it's always going to be a crapshoot with offensive linemen in the draft, even the high end ones. Like Kelvin Banks is going to be a crapshoot. I mean, there are no true, just bona fide ace offensive linemen really anymore, save for maybe a Joe Alt, maybe one or two a year. So you have that. People are trying to solve their offensive line problems through the draft. That's not working out. So now they try to solve it through free agency. So you're giving Aaron Banks $77 million. You're giving Jalen Moore, who couldn't start for the 49ers, despite apparently Colton McKivitz sucking. He's getting $15 million to start. You're paying off debt with a credit card now. And what the 49ers are doing is they're just saying, we're not going to play any of that. We'll pay Trent Williams. We'll pay you fair market. We'll draft you if we think you're worthy of that draft spot, like a Pooney or a Colby, if it all lines up, but we're not going to overstretch ourselves. And what we're going to do is we're going to wait for every other team to pass these guys around who had talent, who some coach saw something in. And the fact that they keep bouncing around says that these coaches like him enough to bring him in, but they don't have the time because they need ready-made success to actually do the things that they need to do to get these guys ready. We're going to take these dudes Tampa Bay Rays style, early Moneyball A's style, and we're going to take these Island of Misfits toys who are older and at a certain point in their career, and we're going to get them that little bit of polish that they need. We're going to give them a year or two in our system because we can use the practice squad this way, and we're going to then develop them into what we need. And guys like Barch, guys like Burford might not be a good example. Let's use Hennessy, right? Hennessy's going to bounce around. Well, Hennessy, okay, we're going to bring him in at the end of a year. We're going to keep him around. We're going to get him in here, and now he can be a backup. And maybe Hennessy starts at center next year. And that's the same thing with Brendel on the practice squad for 2-3 years. Then he gets the start. Pleasance, if McKivitz gets the contract that I think he's going to get, Austin Pleasance is your starting right tackle next year because you can keep him around for a heck of a lot cheaper, and it might not be that big of a drop-off. If Trent Williams retires, you should keep Spencer Burford around on a reasonable deal so that you have your replacement there. So you don't go into a draft desperately needing a left tackle, which is almost as valuable in the draft as a quarterback. And you see how teams draft quarterbacks, and you're not paying a left tackle because you can't buy a franchise caliber left tackle in this day and age the same way you can't buy a quarterback. It is a position of immense value.
Yeah, they don't. First of all, I don't think Burford is ever going to make it as a tackle. I'd be shocked. I mean, now I know he's going to redo his body.
I like this one. This is going to be fun.
I just don't see it. He's just too slow. He's too slow. His feet are so slow.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything even approaching offensive tackle feet. But we'll see. Because I know he knows that it's now or never, and he's going to make whatever adjustment. You heard Trent say it. He's been hanging in Houston with Trent all summer. So he wants it, and he's going to work at it.
I see explosion on the first step, and I see crazy explosion with his hands.
Oh, he's got plenty of explosion. He just doesn't have enough. He just doesn't get. I mean, in a league where a guy playing the spot that you could see him playing is Lane Johnson and kicks out super fast.
Yeah.
This guy is nowhere close to that. He doesn't even approach anything close to that. But we'll see. I mean,
he's going to get Nick Bosa and Bryce Huff in training camp because he's going to be your starting left tackle until week 1. Right? Because Trent doesn't practice that way. So we're going to know pretty fast in training camp if I'm full of it or not. But I'm all in on Burford.
I mean, they wanted him at guard forever. He hasn't been able to do it, and then they try. It's weird. It's like as each year that goes by, he's played less and less.
It's not like
he's
college,
playing more.
though,
he's playing less.
And they moved.
No, I know he was a right tackle. He was, but I just don't think I don't. I have not seen, and I've watched him a lot. I have not seen anything that approaches the kind of footwork that it takes to be a blindside pass protector in the NFL. Now, maybe I'm wrong. And maybe he'll get
to this point, no, but he has looked awesome in these drills, and they have been working on it, and he does look different to me. But I might be making a mountain out of a molehill.
No, I think he is quicker. I just think the level of quickness that it's gonna require is probably gonna be too much for him. Now we'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
That might be right. We're going to find out real fast because it will be plainly obvious if he's got it or not.
The other thing here is that Pleasance. It's funny. His brother called the stream this morning. He was in the stream this morning saying, "Hey, what do you think of Pleasance?" And it's like, "Hey, that's my brother," which was very cool. But I'm a huge fan of Pleasance. I will say this though:
been Junior Bergen's brother.
9. The guys had 9 stops. It's like, and it's like the people in the chat. The people in the chat are like, Krug, you're talking up an offensive tackle who's like on his 9th stop, and now you're saying he's with the 49ers. He's going to be good.
Mm-hmm. I'm saying the same thing, by the way, and right. I rarely agree with Larry.
And all I would say about it is that Chris Foerster has been around longer than any of us and seen way more tackles than any of us, and he, to me, seemed genuinely freaking amazed by the movement ability of Austin Pleasance. Now, I get it, though. Believe me, I get it. The guy who sent the note a couple streams ago was like, dude, Krug, this is like this 9th team, and now you're saying he's going to be good. I hear you. I get it. I know it sounds bad. It really does.
I would view it the opposite way. This guy has been on 9 different teams in the NFL. That means every offensive line coach, people have brought him in because they see something.
Right.
They've kept him around a little bit, and he keeps getting jobs. Do you think that most
guys
not only
get
that,
9 not only
chances?
Not only that, I think of his 9 teams, I think
he's gone back to a lot of places.
3 of them have brought him back.
Yeah.
So I think it was like Bears brought him for 2 stints, Cardinals brought him for 2 stints.
Right.
So there's that too. So
they like him. They just don't have time to get what they need from him because none of these offensive line coaches have time to actually develop anybody.
Well, and here's the other thing.
Except for Foerster.
The 49ers, it's amazing how this works. Bob McKittrick was a great coach, but he was not like all the other offensive line coaches. He liked smaller guys. The Niners won Super Bowl 16 with Dan Audick at 258 pounds playing guard. It was just a guy that they had picked up off the waiver wire, but they won a Super Bowl. Well, why'd they win the Super Bowl? Because they had awesome athletes on defense, a killer pass rush, and they had Joe Montana and great weapons.
Totally.
So they got it done. My point is the only difference between Bob McKittrick in that era and Chris Foerster in this era, the Niners are still not drafting offensive linemen high. Mm-hmm. They're still looking for guys that other teams are not looking for. Mm-hmm. The only difference is they have not won the Super Bowl. And if they win the Super Bowl, this way of building an offensive line that a lot of people are critical of right now will be hailed as genius. And it's amazing how McKittrick is like thought of as the glue of the Niners dynasty, and yet Foerster, who in a lot of ways is doing the exact same thing.
That's right.
Is not, a lot of Niner fans think he's crazy and that he doesn't know squat and that because he's big on Brendel. Let me just tell everybody for those who don't know. Brendel made Foerster look smart in front of Shanahan because Foerster said, hey, I know a guy from Miami that can do the job who you don't have to pay any money to. And they brought him in, and he basically has done the job. So Brendel is a success story in the eyes of Shanahan, and Foerster is appreciative of that. And so I think that's why Foerster loves Brendel. That's why, because he made him look good. And so there's like this loyalty there. I think Foerster's too loyal to Brendel at this point. But I think ultimately Foerster's a really good coach. They've got great depth here. And you usually keep 5 starters and 3 or 4 backups. And now listen to these backups. They have Dillard, who I think is a legitimate backup NFL tackle, former first-round pick.
Yes.
Burford, who you like. Matt Hennessy, who I think looks really good. In fact, when I say really good, I think he looks way more athletic than Brendel. Then you got Zakelj. You got Pleasance, who looks like a house and is moving incredibly well. You have Drew Moss, who went to Colorado State, who's kind of a tough ass. You got him. Drake Nugent, who's really smart. And you got Connor Colby and Zach Johnson. I mean, forget
Zach
Sebastian
Johnson's
Gutierrez.
Actually been pretty good.
He is. So the only 2 guys in this line that really are good. The only 2 guys that aren't really guys are Isaac Alarcon and Sebastian Gutierrez. The rest of these guys are viable O-linemen for backup roles. So I'll say this. I think the upside is that, Barch is better than Banks. Trent has a bounce back year. McKivitz has a big year in his walk year. And they've got quality depth at all three spots. And I would say that I think that's what I'm hoping for, but that's also what I'm kind of expecting.
I think Brendel's legs look better. I remember OTAs last year, and Brendel wasn't there every day, if I recall correctly. But I just remember him looking really stiff and really just tired. He just didn't have his legs. And he didn't have his legs for months. It was a lot better later. And the other aspect that you have to remember when it comes to the center position is that they're calling out the protections. And sometimes, maybe Brock with the $50 million contract should be handling the protections now. Like, congratulations with your new job. Here comes, or with your new money, here comes a new job. But that is not something that an offensive line coach or really an offensive coordinator is going to take lightly. So when you get better as the season goes along, albeit starting from a very low point because he couldn't anchor at all, and it was to the point where I remember in training camp he was having snapping issues because he couldn't get out of his stance fast enough because his legs had no explosion in them. And so he was rolling snaps to get out of his set or to get into his set. And then he basically had to make the trade-off of, well, the quarterback has to get the ball, so I guess I'm just going to keep getting beat, and guys are going to make contact with me before I get set. But that got better, and he got there, and ultimately he was just fine at the end of last year. I don't know about this whole best graded thing. It's not a high bar, to be fair, but he's fine, and his legs look good. And if his legs are good, he is a above average center in this league. Is he going to be Creed Humphrey? Is he going to be Tanner Bortolini, who I'm very high on? Is he going to be, Lindbergh? No, he's not going to be an elite center in this league. But in that system, with the responsibilities put on it, it's about the stuff that's between the ears more so than it is about anything else. And I don't think it's ridiculous at all to not want to change if you don't have to. And to this point, Brendel has not forced them. He's come up against the line, to be fair, but he has not forced them to make a move in another direction, which, by the way, wouldn't be going out and signing some big-time free agent or anything. It'd be the Nuge, who does not look better than he looked last year. He looks pretty much the same, for whatever that's worth. It might be Hennessy.
It might be smarter. Yeah, I mean, by the way, I think that J is silent. I think it's a Zakel. But yeah, I mean, I'll say this: they got backups now. They got backups. Mm-hmm. They've got some decent backups.
They don't have to sign an Austin Pleasance off the street this year. That's an upgrade.
Well, I mean, the bottom line too is DJ Humphries today signed with the Rams. They tried to sign three of these guys. DJ Humphries, that fell apart. Andre Dillard, that worked out. Nicholas Petit-Frere, they brought in, he was horrible.
Yes.
And it's like watching Austin Pleasance. It's pretty obvious Austin Pleasance is probably better than these guys. So we'll see, though, because Austin Pleasance has bounced around. But it's funny. I brought this up to Damon earlier. If I told you, forget the 9 teams that Austin Pleasance has been on and the fact that he hasn't landed anywhere really and stayed. He hasn't been able to stick. And then think about this for a second, though. If I told you, hey, man, I got a buddy who's super talented, got his degree, got a couple different jobs early on. He kind of floated from job to job. It wasn't a good fit. He's now 27, and he's kind of rededicated himself to his career, and he's actually having success now, and he's really doing well with his new job. Would you say, oh, my God, I cannot believe that is the craziest story? No, dude, because people in their 20s mature. And I would say anybody who's working on their craft at 23, 24, 25, 26, by the time they get to 27, if they're serious about getting better, they probably are better. So it's I guess we shouldn't necessarily be that shocked. But in the NFL, it's like we're so used to it. Guys show it immediately that we don't really have patience at almost any position. O-line might be offensive tackle might be the one spot because their body types are so rare that you just don't have that many guys to choose from. That a guy could have 3 or 4 years of floating around from team to team and not quite fitting in and still carve out a beautiful career and maybe make, Jalen Moore kind of cash at some point. It can happen in the NFL. And I think it's kind of the opposite of your point that you were making about kind of the cyclical nature of drafting O-linemen high. It's like you draft them high. Because you drafted them high, you feel obligated to play them. They're not ready to play. They don't play particularly well. You don't do particularly well. Then you're drafting high again, still needing an offensive lineman, and you keep drafting guys high. Where I kind of feel like Pleasance is the other side of the thing, where it's like, hey, if you can find a guy, coach him up, after, find a guy that's already been quit on by 6 or 7 teams, but that your pro personnel department believes has the requisite whatever, and now you get him in a good situation, get him motivated, and maybe you got something. I'm eager to see what Pleasance looks like.
It's also the first time in like 3 years that Austin Pleasance has known he's had a job coming into a season, as far as I can tell, which pretty hard to like.
I'll make you work.
Well, it gives some clarity, right? The pressure's off. I mean, imagine having to go into every offseason and just be like, oh, how many different planes am I going to be on trying out for teams? And, oh, maybe they'll bring me back. And then you're getting cut from practice squads and things like that. And all of these roster moves that I look at are just, this guy is an undrafted, out of Ohio, 2-star recruit, big, unpolished. And so when push comes to shove, it's like, I guess we can just cut Pleasance. We need to move somebody because this guy's coming back. We'll just cut Pleasance because, we don't have a role for him right now. And clearly, a lot of offensive line coaches liked him. They kept bringing him in. Again, 3 different second stints. That's a positive in my eyes. And this is the first time since he was with the Chargers the first go-around and he was on a futures contract that he's known going into a season, hey, I have a job here, or at least I'm fighting for a job here. And that kind of clarity with a little bit of maturity, that can loosen him up to be the best version of himself. And he clearly is a improved version of the previous Austin Pleasance, which I'm sure is not a great frame of reference for most people, but certainly made an impression on the coaching staff at the 49ers in a positive way. And they're not in the business of hyping up guys like Austin Pleasance, because that's a good way for them to get even more heat on him if they're like, Austin Pleasance is awesome, and then he goes out there and sucks. That's, we wouldn't say it if we didn't think it. We're not going to be right about everything, but Austin Pleasance looks great. Yeah,
and Firster, believe me, he couldn't hide it. No. All right, let's switch to topic 2, which is Matt Barrows did a great article today in the Athletic about the 10 49ers that, in his mind, stood out in OTAs and minicamp. And here's just, we'll get into our own here, but here's the guys he has. He has D. Winters.
Yep.
Can't argue with that. He looks great. Demarcus Robinson. Can't argue with that. I think he looks great. Jacob Cowing. Trey Brown he has on his list. Upton Stout he has on his list. Jordan Watkins, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Pleasance all made the list. Tatum Bethune, Mac Jones, with honorable mentions to C.J. West, Nick Martin, Bryce Huff, and the 49er grounds crew for putting in that other field.
Yeah,
I'll just throw it to you, Dieter. We were just there. We've watched it all.
Yeah.
OTAs, minicamp, whatever you want to call it. It's, their off-season work. It's without pads. It's not football.
Right.
That's the other thing. It's like, you don't want to make too many evaluations for non-football. That means don't make too many evaluations at the combine. Don't get too crazy about minicamp.
Of course.
Even when I saw Brock Purdy at minicamp dominate his rookie year, I still was kind of slow playing it until I saw it with pads on in July. When I saw it with pads on in July, I was like, oh, then I started touting it because I really believed at that point. But where are you with minicamp in the offseason? I just gave you Barrow's 10 favorites. Who are your favorites?
Well, I agree with Winters. I agree with Cowing. Not sure I'd qualify Robinson in that, but I do think it's worth a note, so I think Matt's correct on that. I think both Trey Brown and Trey Avery were impressive. I think Darrell Luter was impressive. I really like the state of the Niners CB room right now. I think all 3 of those guys are viable guys to play. I see it with Upton Stout. I don't know how long it will last because Upton Stout is itty-bitty, but he's
the only rookie currently running with the ones on defense.
Yes. He's got it. When you're that small, I need to see the incredible flashes of speed and just a clear understanding of what it is I'm looking at and what it is I'm attacking. And it looks like the game is not too fast for him in 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s. Will it get a lot faster when people are out there looking to take his head off? You bet. But I get it with Upton Stout. So I'm in on Upton Stout. Never was out particularly, but I feel far more confident in him today. I think that the Watkins hype early has faded for me a little bit. I'm not saying he's bad. I just think that he's a limited receiver. I think he's a really good deep threat. I think he'd be an interesting X option. But I'm missing the short and the intermediate stuff that you really want in an all-around receiver. Not to say it won't develop or can't develop, just to say I'm not as bullish as maybe I would have been during OTAs, during minicamp. The luster came off a little bit because I was very high on him after a couple of practices, and now we've kind of come back down. McCaffrey looks incredible. Pleasance, we've talked about ad nauseum. I will disagree with him on a couple of names here. Mac Jones is unquestionably an upgrade over what it is they have had at backup quarterback. I can see why Mac Jones is a backup quarterback based on what we've seen so far in OTAs and minicamp. Sometimes it looks fantastic. Sometimes it looks awful. Obviously, not really football, but I'm not. I don't feel really confident about the 49ers' chances to win if he has to cover a month. I'm not sure that they're going 2-2 if he's got to play 4 games.
To me, there's not a big difference between him and Sam Darnold as far as
true.
As far as presentation.
Yeah.
Sam has good downs. Sam had bad downs. Sam had good plays. Sam had bad plays.
Yeah.
Sam had some head scratchers. To me, he looks like Sam Darnold. I mean, like he doesn't move
without the arm, without the cannon. Yeah,
he doesn't have a cannon, but he's got plenty of arm. He's got
nice
enough
touch.
He's got plenty of arm. He's got enough NFL arms. Darnold had a very good arm, but I think Jones is probably a better decision maker, to be honest.
I don't doubt it. I think Mac Jones. Again, I prefaced it by saying he's an upgrade. This is good. I wouldn't put him down as someone who impressed me at training camp, but we can all disagree. Tatum Bethune is getting the opportunities. That feels like a default thing. When I watch Tatum Bethune, I don't see somebody who has taken any real steps forward, but he's probably your starter at Sam right now, and I'm not inspired watching him. And then I want to be clear about this. I'm looking for it. I really am. I know that this has been a point of contention, and the fact that this is not real football probably nullifies everything I'm about to say, so I'll keep it brief. I don't see it with Nick Martin at all. I just don't. I don't see this prodigious speed that people talk about. He's clearly fast, but I see him running well behind some of the receivers. I saw Luke Farrell just give him the business on 4 straight reps, and once the pads come on, it might be a totally different ball game, but the game looks really fast for him right now, and frankly, he's smaller than all but one of the safeties, which was a main concern coming in. They need him to be a viable option. They need him to be a viable option, and I mean, I'm really trying not to go confirmation bias or anchoring, and I probably shouldn't even have brought it up. I should have just kept it to myself, but I do not see it. I do not get it. And I've talked to a couple of people that I trust their opinions on this, and I won't name names, and they're like, yeah, I haven't seen anything that flips it the other way around. I feel like everyone's holding on to their priors on this, so it's probably a futile effort. But again, I mean, just 4 straight reps.
Johnny Holland disagrees.
That's Johnny great. Johnny Holland drafted him. That doesn't mean
Johnny Holland's
right.
like he's for sure going to be a very good NFL player. That's what he said last week. I mean, I think you're dying on this hill, and I think it's true. I think you're going to flame out bad on this one. Okay. I mean, personally,
Johnny Holland probably like Demetrius Flanagan fouls too.
I think no, they're not even that. There's not even close.
How are they? They're literally the same size.
They're not even close. One guy is a converted safety. The other guy's a linebacker. The other guy's
smaller than the safeties.
Yeah, but it's not about that. It's not only about size. Flanagan Fowles played safety at Arizona. He was a true safety.
Fred Warner played safety at BYU. He never played. He's a pretty good linebacker.
But he never played.
Brian Urlacher was a safety at New
but those guys played safe. Those guys played safety because they could run like safeties. Flanagan Fowles played safety because that's what he was. I mean, he can't run. He never played at all from scrimmage. He's a total special teamer. I think you're going to be so wrong on this one because this guy, you don't make 140 tackles by accident. And this guy, you're saying he's not fast? These guys runs 4.53.
I'm saying
you're saying he's not strong? This guy had 26 reps. This guy's proven it on the field, and he's proven it in the training. And his coach says he's going to be great. Mm-hmm. His instincts, to me, are really, really good.
Oh, I saw the exact opposite. I
love this guy.
Okay.
I love this guy. To me, this was, I think, one of their very, very best picks. I mean, they think this guy's not only going to be on the team.
What are
they think this guy's going to be the leader of the team.
I'm sure he's a lovely man. I've heard nothing but positive things about him as a person.
What are they going to tell you? We know how you feel about him. You don't like him, but
we really fucked up with that 3rd round pick, didn't we?
I think you're really, really going to be wrong on this one.
Okay.
Because this guy's going to play right away, and you're going to see.
So why
are
they using Bethune as the Sam on first team reps?
Well, I mean, I don't think he's a Sam linebacker. I don't think this guy's the Sam linebacker.
You think he's the Will?
Yeah, I think he's a weak side linebacker
over D. Winters.
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out this summer. But I think, yeah.
Why wouldn't you use him as the Sam in the meantime? Why wouldn't they give him those first team reps as the Sam?
Well, I mean, I think for one, I think they probably want to just simplify and let him not have to learn every spot. Second of all, I don't think they want to have him in there at the Sam. I think they want him to be on the field more. The Sam only plays about 22% of the total snaps.
There's no reason you can't shift to Will.
Right, but you have to learn them all, and I think it's probably just simplifying them. And also, I mean, I think Tatum Bethune is looking really good. I mean, Tatum Bethune is.
I don't see anything different than last year.
Oh God, I mean, I really do. I think he is. He had a step and a half to gain, and I think he gained it. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like this summer because he, to me, has everything you're looking for. I mean, he is a middle linebacker. He's not a weak side linebacker, but he can play the strong side. And I think he's better than the other guys. I think he's better than Curtis Robinson. I think he's better than Flanagan Fowles. I think he's better than those guys.
I think I would take Giffords
over them right now. He's a tough, instinctive player who's a great fit for the middle backer. We'll see. He could still be.
It's all foolhardy until they put on pads.
Well, maybe he was 2 steps slow, but there's no doubt in my mind he got a step and a half.
Okay.
He picked up a step and a half. I mean, and don't say it can't happen because Brock Purdy did it. No, I know, but I mean, there are people that are like, you don't get faster. No, you do get faster. You can get faster if you work on it and if you are really dedicated to it. Now, I think this guy's got what this guy's got. I think is really valuable. This is a good special teamer and a good backup linebacker at worst. But I think Tatum Bethune is going to find that extra step and a half, and I think you're going to see it. I think you're going to see it this summer, and it's going to be like, whoa, what happened? And there's going to be this, what happened to this guy? Where did this guy? What did this guy do? And it's just going to be that step and a half. That's how I feel. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see.
I'm a believer
once
in
they
Bethune.
put on
I'm a
pads,
believer in
we get the actual. We get the
See,
actual.
I don't believe in D. Winters. I mean, D. Winters is flying around, but so what? Who cares? He's been flying around for the last couple of years. He flies around. That's what he does. He flies around. But guess what? He doesn't have any. He falls off tackles. He doesn't hit anybody. Then they don't go down. I mean, I love D. Winters as a guy. I talk to him all the time.
Oh yeah,
but
great.
he has to bring people to the ground, and it doesn't happen. He doesn't do it.
He doesn't tackle with his arms. He tackles with his shoulders only. Yeah.
He hits. He falls off guys. It's not happening. He doesn't bring anybody to the ground with any consistency. He either doesn't hit you hard enough, or he doesn't wrap, or some combination thereof. But I love D. Winters. I love the way he looks. But until I see him actually make tackles for a couple games in a row, I don't think he's serious. I don't think he's a serious player.
I'm very bearish on this linebacker situation in general. Like, this is the
That's
fact
funny
that
because Johnny loves it. I mean, like Johnny really.
that's great.
He talked up these guys. He was talking up Stone Blanton. He's like, Stone Blanton is going to be a player. He's like, I tell him things one time, and he immediately does it correct. He's like, this kid
cool.
really does. So, I mean, he's making it seem like Stone Blanton could be like Chris Borland.
I don't talk to Johnny Holland enough to know if this is how Johnny Holland operates on the day-to-day or not. It is 7-on-7 and 11-on-11, no pads. This is not really linebacking. But man, I go in looking. How about this? Positivity out of that core would be surprising to me. That's where I'll be. I hope to be surprised and to have legitimate competition for spots, because right now it feels like a lot of default going down the line. Well, you're going to get some reps because you were a third round pick, or Bethune, you've just been hanging out here. Like, I kind of liked what I saw from Luke Gifford. That was a nice surprise, but like, what are we talking about here? So linebackers are a real concern. Love what's going on at corner. Two guys that I'm surprised weren't on Matt's list were Jason Pinnock and Richie Grant. And I think Richie Grant actually looked, I gotta eat a little crow here. I thought he looked pretty damn good at OTAs and minicamp. I thought that
I was telling you that Richie Grant is not a special teamer.
You're
like
right.
He
was terrible for Atlanta last year, to be fair, but he looks fine. He looks good.
He has been a very positive guy. I mean, he is flying all over the field. He's
a viable backup, if not a starter. And I'm fascinated to see what Marquise Sigel is. You want to talk about someone who got talked up. I mean, the quote is off the charts football IQ, which I want to see what that looks like. You know, Mustafa's the dude. I don't know what Jair Brown is or if he's even needed. George Odom's a special teamer. So now you have, but you're going to carry 4 and maybe 5 with Sigel being sort of a dime back option. You can almost use him as a corner. But with Pinnock and Grant, you have 2 viable backups if it is Jair Brown and Mustafa, or you can slide one of them, or if it's Sigel, who they're very high on and might get it from the jump. I feel a little bit better about safety than I did 2 weeks ago, which is a pretty big surprise to me. I'm hoping to feel the same way about linebacker come training camp time.
Pinnock is a favorite of Solace, for no doubt. And he was a corner at Pittsburgh, so he's got some coverage ability. Grant is a very interesting player to me because Grant was, once upon a time, was a second-round pick. He was a really good player at, I think, Appalachian State. He's really athletic, and not only that, he's kind of demonstrated he's got a little bit of swagger. I mean, he's also got a little bit of confidence. Like, he's a swagger kind of a guy. One more on this. I don't want to go crazy, but I did find this. This is in Kev's thing. Here's Johnny Holland. This is what he had to say about Nick Martin. Here's what he had to say. Listen to Johnny. Tell me what you think.
Johnny, what are your early impressions of Nick Martin on the practice field?
Speed. You know, he can run, and he's violent, and he loves ball, and cat look like he can run all day. You know, and so that's pretty impressive, and he's eager to learn, and eager to do it right, and that's what we look for in a player. And it's almost, you look at him as he's no doubt he's going to be a good player. It's going to take time, and it's hard for rookies to come in and master what we do, so, hopefully he can take one step at a time and continue to get improved. And I know when he first got here, he was a little drifty, and now he take coaching so well that now he know how to trigger him, get downhill and not drift. And I know I just reminded of a play had yesterday. He was a backside buzz player. Ball was thrown 40 yards across the field, and he was full speed all the way across the field. And that kind of stuff there that's what make players really good, when they can do all the little things right all the time and not sometime, and make it a habit. And so that's one thing I try to stress with all our linebackers, that you got to make it a habit of keeping your pads low, make it a habit of breaking and driving to the ball, make it a habit of punching the ball a lot, and then in the game. I don't think about it. It's a habit.
There you go, little Johnny on Martin, and this doesn't prove anything. I just wanted people to hear what his position coach had to say about him. We're going to find out. He's a smallish linebacker with
Smallish
great
is an
traits.
understatement, Larry.
Well, I totally. First of all, this is where the NFL is going. That's why you saw so many linebackers in this draft who are all in this 6 foot, 6'2", 215, 225.
It's where
That's
the college
the
game's
range.
going. That's for sure, because that's what
I mean,
they're producing.
Look at Jamian Sherwood, who just came from Robert Sala's defense with the Jets.
Yep.
He was a safety at Auburn. He's 214 pounds, but in the NFL in 2024, he was a linebacker, and this is where it's going.
Yeah, but he added 25 pounds. And we've had this conversation before. I mean, he added a tremendous amount of weight, and it took him multiple years to see the field. And they played him at Sam, and they moved over. And listen, if that's Nick Martin's path, there's no problem.
But look at the trend, though. Look at the trend around the sport. I mean, just pick a team. I mean, you name a team. We'll take Kansas City. We'll take Kansas. They're great. They were in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, you can look at the best linebacker in football.
Nick Bolton's small. Nick Bolton is a tiny little guy. Nick Bolton is the middle linebacker. He is 6 feet, the same height as Nick Martin.
How much does he weigh?
Exact same height.
How much does he weigh?
They list him here at 237.
There you go.
So, but I mean, my guess is he's somewhere between 225 and 235. But I mean, we're not talking about that big of a difference. This guy's 222. I mean, a 6 foot, 220 pound linebacker is not. It's not crazy. Forget them for a second. Let's go to the Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's look at their linebacking core. They have Nakobe Dean. What's Nakobe Dean weigh? He's 5'11".
First off, Nakobe Dean is
231 pounds.
injured to the point where they replaced him.
There you go. But I mean, okay, let's go to Zach Baun. Zach Baun is not a huge guy either.
No, he is not.
Elite
coverage
I'm
linebacker.
Just saying, this is
6'3" though.
But this is where the league is going. It's going to smaller linebackers who can run. I mean, this guy.
No question.
He's 6'2". He's 6'2", 225 pounds. That's what our lads listed him at. So he's 3 pounds heavier and an inch and a half of height on Nick Martin. And that's going to make the difference between an all-pro and somebody who just can't play. I mean, if you want to say you don't think he's good, that's one thing. But don't say he can't do it because he's small, because he's not. The league is – there's plenty of guys his size that can do it all around the league. And this is the linebacker – like if we go into the draft guide – this is what the linebackers in this draft look like. This is what Eugene Asante. This is Chandler Martin. This is what most of these guys are. I mean, Kane Madrano, like 220 something pounds. The 250 rocked up. Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis. I mean, if you can get a guy who's 250 and rocked up and can run 4.5, God bless you. But
yes,
most they're going.
Those.
But they're going. But see what happens is it's hard to find guys in that package. So it's like what gives, and what gives is speed. Speed wins, and the speedier guys are going to stay. And if that means they're smaller, then they're going to be smaller. But this is the wave of the future in the NFL, and this is why there were so many guys that fit this same kind of profile. We'll see. To me, you're right.
Until the second level blocker gets there.
Well, there's no question. I mean, this part of having small linebackers is you got to have Albert Collins. You got to have C.J. West. You got to make sure that the guard doesn't climb to the second level and pick off your undersized linebackers. No question. If you don't have the defensive line to protect the Nick Boltons, you can't have Nick Bolton.
Correct.
And Nick Bolton's faster than a lot of guys, but he's not big. He's small, and lots of guys are like that. Okay, a couple other questions here. Best player that you think for the 49ers is ultimately going to be cut at the cut down? It's hard to say, obviously, because there's injuries and that kind of thing, but who do you think is the best player who you think ultimately winds up getting cut?
It's either Isaiah Hodgins or, I mean, it's not a sexy list. Nick Sakelj, Nick Sakel. Like,
It could be. That's not bad.
there's a possibility there. I don't think it will happen, but there's a possibility there at least. I mean, as I have it now, I think it's Kalia Davis. I think he's persona non grata, but I don't think Kalia Davis is that good of a player. So I don't think that it really qualifies. This is the issue. The low end is pretty damn low on this team to where we're like, oh, Kalia Davis is gonna get cut. Unbelievable. It's like totally believable. Very believable.
I would.
Give me.
I would probably
you
say.
thought it through. Give it to me.
Well, no, I haven't thought it through. I
What about
was.
Taron
I like that
Jackson?
one. But he's not that.
I know.
don't-
That's what I'm saying. A lot of these guys are just not that.
I think.
good.
I think Kalia Davis is a good one. I really do. I think that's a good one.
They
because there's
clearly
some
are
value
not,
there.
They're not fans of him right now. He was running with like the fourth team.
Well, I mean, if you look at what we're seeing out there, obviously West and Collins have spots locked up.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 2. You're only going to keep 5. Jordan Elliott looks way better, I think, and so does Evan Anderson.
I think they're freeing Elliott to just be a pass rusher, which is a really interesting and I think positive development. I'm in on that because that's what
Tim
he's good at.
Ryan. Tim Ryan says that he thinks Elliott's going to have a bust out year, but Valdez, Evan Anderson, Givens, West, Elliott. I think you're right. I think Kalia Davis is a good one.
Yeah.
I like that one. I'll go Kalia Davis. The other one, I'll say Curtis Robinson, just because he was the Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner last year, and he's very popular. But I just don't see it. I don't see it. You know, I like Chaz Surratt. I like Tatum Bethune. I like Nick Martin. You like Luke Gifford. I kind of like Jalen Graham.
I don't know if I'm going as far to say I like Luke Gifford. I'm just he wasn't
just
as
saying
bad
over
as I
Curtis
suggested
Robinson.
he might be. Oh yeah, no, I don't think I don't think Curtis Robinson ever is on the roster. I think that
He
they
looked
find a
so
way to-
good in preseason last year. I feel bad
I
for him
know.
because it just didn't happen.
He
I mean,
looked
it's like a
yoked up,
bus.
too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like life's opportunities. It's like waiting for a bus. It's like you got to catch the bus, and if you miss the bus, you may have to wait a long time. Curtis Robinson missed his bus. You know what I mean? He was supposed to be. You know, it's kind of like Franny. Franny missed his bus. You know, he thought he was going to play for the Giants, and then he blew out his Achilles when he got his opportunity, and he never got an opportunity. I mean, it just disappeared. It evaporated after that. So Curtis Robinson thought he was going to get an opportunity with the Niners. Looked really good last year in camp, and I think he's going to wind up getting cut this year. So I'll say him. The other one, maybe Trey Brown.
Oh yeah, maybe
Trey Brown, because I agree with you about Trey Avery, and I didn't realize that Saron Neal got some money. And then I kind of like Jacob Robinson and Canteen a little bit.
Canteen's giving you some flash plays. He's also gotten burned. Jacob Robinson, I have nothing but negative marks on. I wanted to like him. I haven't seen it yet.
Small, but he's fast. We'll see when the pads come on. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's funny. Sala wouldn't make any evaluation of any of these corners until the pads come on.
That's fair.
You know, which I think that is fair. I'll give you another one. Jake Moody. I think Joseph,
Maybe.
you know, will beat out Jake Moody, and Moody
I
will
don't
get
think
cut.
he will. I think Moody looked
You like Moody to
absolutely
win that
awesome.
job?
I think he looked awesome. He was absolutely pounding them. That was a different sound. They had very different sounds when they kicked the ball on respective days, and I think Jake Moody's new motion is gonna be very fruitful for him. Whether it be with the 49ers or some other team. I'm on the Jake Moody bandwagon. I might be the lone fan left, but I'm in on Jake Moody. I love what I'm seeing.
Wow. Well, I'm it's not that I don't like what I'm seeing because he's done nothing but, you know, go 6 for 7. I just don't want to I'm
You don't
done
want the
with
drama. You don't want the extra shit. I get it.
No, I'd rather get a little bit less talent and a little bit more certainty. And I feel like maybe Joseph might provide that, but I don't even
They
know
would have
that.
already cut him if that's what they really wanted. What they really want is for him to work and for them to look genius for sticking with them.
Oh, I know. But you know, once again, the 49ers, have not impressed me with their roster cut down skills the last couple of years. They kept Isaiah Oliver. They cut Jameson last year. They cut Womack. They kept Rock Ya-Sin and Yadam. If they keep Saron Neal this year and wind up cutting Darrell Luter, it's going to be another move that absolutely burns them. And you can make one move like that over a 2-3 year period. You make 3 bad roster pair down moves, that you're hurting your football team
without question.
All right, 2 last ones here. NFL breakout star of 2025. If I say to you, who's somebody this is going to be their year to really break out and be spectacular, who do you got?
Got a couple names for you, Lair. Let's start with Bucky Irving in Tampa. Some people might say he's already broken out, but the running back for the Bucs, I think, ascends to that next level of superstar. He's absolutely awesome. He's totally sick. I'm going to give you 2 wide receivers. Roma Dunze for Chicago. I think this is the
I like that one.
And then
I hate his quarterback.
Well, it might all work out. That Ben Johnson's pretty good. And then this other fella, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Pearsall. I think it's Ricky Pearsall. I'm in. I think this is the year of Ricky, and I think that's just going to be a thing that everyone in the league talks about, Ricky Pearsall taking it to the next level. I'm going to give you 2 names that no one's going to talk about, except you're all in on it now. I already mentioned him earlier in the show. Tanner Bortolini is going to start at center for the Colts this year. I think Tanner Bortolini had a great rookie year. He was Jake's dude in last year's draft. I think Tanner Bortolini ascends at the center position this year and is considered one of the elite offensive linemen in football by the end of it. And then Josh Metellus, he's a safety linebacker for Minnesota. Ooh, he's about to have a big year. They're going to lean on him more. And that Minnesota defense has a chance to be unbelievable, and I think Josh Metellus has a chance to be the epicenter of it all. That's a household name if you're a household that talks about NFL defenses, which I know not many do, but I think Josh Metellus is about to get a lot of love from a lot of people around the league. So those are my guys.
Yeah, I think Metellus is already kind of the pro personnel departments around the league are very familiar with him.
Yeah.
They know him. He's very good though. Okay, I'm gonna go with your Colts. I like your Colts angle. I think Jonathan Taylor gets hurt, and it's a big year for DJ Giddens. I think DJ Giddens behind this line with Tyler Warren. I think DJ Giddens and Tyler Warren are gonna both start and star for the Colts.
I might be slightly responsible for DJ Giddens getting drafted by the Colts. Not directly, but slightly. And so I'm going to take that as a win, Lair. That's a little through the grapevine. Can't name sources, but yeah, they were not on DJ Giddens until somebody was on DJ Giddens.
I'll give you another one that I really like. And I love this guy in the draft, so I'm very consistent. But he's also I've read the stories coming out of minicamp, and people are talking about this guy and hushed tones and oh my god. Ty Robinson, the Nebraska kid who went to Philadelphia. Not the Philadelphia with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and all those guys needed more defensive linemen, but Ty Robinson. Ty Robinson was good at Nebraska. He's got a crazy motor. I think he's going to be really good with the Eagles. So I really like Ty Robinson. I think he's going to be a breakout guy for sure. I love him. And then Seattle. I'm kind of impressed by Seattle. I think Seattle's done some good things. And believe it or not, I think Jalen Milroe is going to show that he is the guy in Seattle.
I dig
not
it.
Darnold, not Locke.
I dig that.
Jalen Milroe.
Are we talking Matt Flynn 2.0 here? Is that what's happening? Where Jalen Milroe is the Russell Wilson to the Sam Darnold's Matt Flynn?
Except I don't think Milroe's as good as Russell, and I don't think Darnold's as bad as Flynn. But yeah.
I love it. History repeats itself. At least it rhymes, and that's a fun one. I'm not in on that, but I want to be. I might get there with you. Give me a little bit of time. I'll think on it.
On that same team,
Yeah.
I like Seattle, Riley Mills and Nick Emanwari. Emanwari, I think, is going to be a real difference maker, and I think Riley Mills as well. Loved Riley Mills at Notre Dame. He's got a motor. He plays hard, and he's a very, very impressive player. So I think Riley Mills is going to be. I think that's going to be a good mix there.
Emanwari and Mike McDonald is a diabolical matchup. That is as high a hit possibility as there existed in this draft, and then again with Emanwari, you watch the tape and you see all the reasons why it might not work out. One of the legitimate players that I will watch preseason football to evaluate is Nick Emanwari, because that can fundamentally change Seattle's defense immediately if he's in fact the guy that he can be. I mean, that's a Kyle Hamilton level player for the former defensive coordinator of the Ravens. That's his guy. So fascinated to find out. We'll find out in week one for sure.
I'm bullish on the Chargers, and I really like Amarion Hampton. I really like Trey Harris, and I really like Kyle Kennard. And Kyle Kennard was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He's not a crazy athlete, but what he is a great pass rusher. And I think this defense with Khalil Mack on the other side is going to love Kyle Kennard.
That's a really good one.
Kennard, and then on defense, and then Trey Harris and Amarion Hampton on offense. And my prediction is Niners-Chargers Super Bowl.
Wow.
With the Niners beating the Chargers in a rematch of the last time the Niners got a Super Bowl win. And I think the Niners beat the Chargers in Super Bowl 60 at Levi's, and Kyle Shanahan and Jed York get to celebrate in front of Harbaugh.
Okay, I didn't put that together immediately. Okay.
How incredible would that be?
That would be quite something. Give me the Vikings, and
you like the Vikings?
I think the Vikings
with JJ McCarthy.
I think the Vikings are going to explode this year.
Wow.
JJ McCarthy might be the worst player on that team.
That is something.
They are. Man. I love their roster. I love it. Every aspect of it, except for the total, complete wild card at quarterback, I absolutely love. I'm willing to take the bet. I feel like he's got some Purdy in him. And they're in. They would have just kept Sam Darnold for another year or two if they weren't all the way in. They're in. They've seen enough, and it might not work out, but I'm going to go Vikings, and oh boy, AFC. Give me an all-purple Super Bowl. Give me Ravens and Vikings, with the Vikings winning it.
Two last breakout players. The team sucks. They're going nowhere.
Yeah.
But
love that.
I like Dallas. Give me Tyler Booker on the offensive line, and give me, unbelievably, Jay Toia from UCLA on the defensive line. I think Jay Toia and Osa Odigizua.
I'm sorry, can you run that one by me again there, Larry?
Big Osa and Jay Toia are going to give Dallas an all UCLA defensive tackle combo. I love Mozzie Smith, nope, but Jay Toia, yes. Jay Toia is a very good run stuffer. Tyler Booker is a very good run blocker. Dallas still is going to have their issues, but I think they get two road graders. Great offensive linemen who can open holes in their power game, and then the gigantic defensive tackle that cannot be moved. And will be a force against the inside run. So I like Toia, and I like Tyler Booker.
I much prefer Donovan Jackson, who went to the Vikings, left guard. I like
Donovan Jackson
State.
too. Oh, the long arms! I love Donovan Jackson.
Yeah. I'm so all in on the Vikings. I am.
Oh, I know. I can't believe you're that in on JJ McCarthy. That's shocking to me.
I don't even. I love everything else so much that I'm not even in on JJ McCarthy. This is just the Niners from like 3 years ago, where you're like, everybody on this team is sick. Maybe they'll have a decent quarterback. That's where I'm at. And maybe
you don't think a quarterback. I mean,
I think it's incredibly vital.
Usually, you got to start who's. usually most people start with what quarterbacks are good. Let's choose among those teams.
Yeah.
I hear you, but
I seen Brock. I mean, listen,
they have great receivers. There's
they
no
have
question. They got
unbelievable
Justin
receivers.
Jefferson, they got
Offensive
Addison,
line is now Christian
Hawkinson.
Darrison, Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Brian O'Neill. Hawkinson and Josh Oliver with Gavin Bartholomew, one of my favorite guys. You got Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Ty Chandler in the backfield. Your defensive line is Jonathan Allen, Harrison Phillips, Javon Hargrave, and Jonathan Grenard. You got Cashman, Pace, Van Ginkel at linebacker. Isaiah Rogers, Metellus, Harrison Smith, Mekhi Blacken, and Byron Murphy. And by the way, their backups are sick too. Like
Harrison Smith is probably a liability in coverage at this point.
probably, but you can play. You can play.
He's been how old is Harrison
You can
Smith?
play Jeff Akuda. I mean, you got options. Harrison Smith's old.
I hear
but
you.
here's the-
I'm with you on the team. I just don't like the quarterback.
I just feel
and
like
Sam Howell's the backup. We'll see. I mean,
Max Brosmer out of Minnesota. Who's to
Yeah.
say?
Seriously, you never know.
I'm in on the Vikings. Let's boogie. Also, don't sleep on Arizona. Just don't sleep on Arizona.
I hear you.
They've done for like 3 years.
Two quick thoughts. Biggest training camp battle in Santa Clara that you want to see this summer?
Yeah. I want to see those 4 guys that we mentioned for probably 2 spots, maybe 3 on the offensive line. So we're talking Colby and Moss. Hennessy and Zakel is kind of a battle there. I want to see who wins those backup spots on the offensive line. I love the depth, and I want to see who comes out on top. And they're going to get a lot of reps to be able to prove it because they play a lot of backups throughout the preseason and training camp. So that's where my mind's at, but I'm obsessed with it right now. So maybe I can't even be viewed as a rational thinker on this point.
Last thought. Let's listen to what Steve Young had to say, and then we'll quickly comment, and that'll be our show. Here is Steve Young with Rich Eisen talking about the Niners offseason.
I'm very happy with how they handled the offseason. Had a clear plan. It was a plan that was it was retooling. It wasn't a complete restructure, but it was retooling and making every move was tactical and smart and fast and then signing everybody and getting everybody on board. I just thought they handled the offseason perfectly. And now, they're in that space where they're no longer going to come out of the locker room with the best, roster in football, which they've done for 5 or 6 years. And with the best locker room, that got along, that bought for each other, that had their back. That's why they were in Super Bowls in the last few years. Now, they didn't win them. I get it. But they're there because of that group of people. Well, that's different now. And so I'm getting back to Brock in a second, but what they did in the offseason was really smart. And now what has to happen is your veterans need to stay healthy. Trent Williams, number 1. Like if Trent Williams goes down, that offensive line is not the offensive. That's not a offensive line that's top 5 in the league. But with Trent, you can survive it. Now if the veterans stay healthy, and now you got all your rookies that need to pop, and that's what's happened. The Rams got it with Puka. They got different people to pop, and now all of a sudden they're back in the mix, and that needs to happen. So for specifically for Brock, he's a guy that his superpower, like Aaron Rodgers, but not learning in his more sophisticated era, is processing. So Brock, when he's thriving, you saw it a couple of years ago, incredible talent that can get open quickly, and I can process through it and get to that guy like nothing. All of a sudden last year, those guys got hurt. They weren't open right away, and now I need to extend the play, and now things start to go haywire because I don't have, like he always tells you, I'm not the biggest, I'm not the fastest, I'm not the strongest. So then, like, my game is really about processing and you getting open quickly and getting a little protection and moving and getting the ball out. So if that happens and we get that movement, that kind of speed and attack on defenses that are time, like the time is right, like it's in and out, then he's going to be dangerous. But if it goes like last year, people are hurt, that's not happening, protection starts to break down, I got to start running around, ball starts to fly, all of a sudden there's interceptions. That's a tougher spot. And so there's a lot of the guardrails are wider for the 49ers this year. It's different, but yet there's still a path forward to go attack the Super Bowl.
What that background he's got is weird. Where he's
He's
like
got
you
the
can,
he's got the
you can see
yeah.
part of his head and then not part of his
that's
head.
the
It's-
Apple remove the background or zoom. I guess I can.
Yeah.
I don't even think I can do it on my guy.
I can't do it either. I don't know if I'd want to, because you kind of cuts off your head, and then here's part of your head, and like you're all of a sudden
probably
you're all of a sudden,
probably for the best for me.
yeah.
I'll-
But what do you think of what he said there? I mean, I'll say that Steve's being very optimistic. Steve's hoping, for the best. I agree with Fozzie. I wish Steve was still at ESPN.
Steve's the best. I got
Steve's
nothing
the
but
best.
positive things to say about Steve Young. We should all try to be like Steve Young. I think
give us
Steve
your
is-
perspective on Steve's perspective.
I think, these are the fun ones, aren't we? I think Steve is absolutely right about the first part. They were clear-minded, save for the Kyle Juszczyk thing, whatever the hell that was. But they had a plan. They executed the plan. There was clear conviction and action. I can appreciate that. I just don't agree with their plan. I don't like their plan. I thought the plan of let's get rid of all of these guys who make money and replace them with rookies isn't a good plan. Maybe it is for 2026 and 2027, but for the 2025 season, I would prefer to have some players that I can trust immediately. And what they did was they gutted the roster and got it a lot cheaper so that their budget didn't go over because they had to sign their quarterback and a couple other guys. And now they have a roster where you are very dependent on a guy like Nick Martin, and you're very dependent on a guy like
Alfred Collins,
Sam Aquanu. You're very dependent on Upton Stout or Trey Brown or Trey Avery and Jason Pinnock and Richie Grant. You didn't use the full depth of your resources. You instead decided, and again, I agree with, hey, we got to clear off some of this money. We got to reset. I think that there's a cleaner way with 1 year reasonable value contracts to fill in some of those gaps short term, which I don't think they did. So yes, we can applaud them for having a plan, learning their lessons, getting guys signed, cutting some of the fat, acting with conviction and speed. We can commend them for that. That doesn't mean the plan is good. It was not a well-rounded plan, and they're a worse team in 2025, no matter what the schedule might be able to cover up for them. They're a worse team in 2025 than they were 2 years ago, and that they were going into last season because they didn't want to spend more money than they typically allocate in the budget, which is around $300 million. That's the cut and dry of it. As for the Brock thing, we know what it is. I'm bullish on Brock. I think that Brock has a chance to put up a monster season because of some, if a lot of things work out for him. But again, you just have a lot of question marks on this roster going in. And I know every team is operating under that premise, but this might be too many question marks for anybody to overcome without something close to perfect health. And we know in the NFL that is a very difficult thing to ask for.
Well, and the other thing, I mean, Steve says it, and it sounds very benign when he says it, but he's like, yeah, they just need their rookies to pop.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that for just a quick second. What would you say is a realistic over-under on the number of 49er rookies that, as Steve said, are going to pop? And I would put that, and I'm optimistic, and I like this rookie class, and I would set that rookies that will pop over under at 4.5.
Oh, I'm not. I was,
and I would say my guys that are going to
line.
pop are Watkins. I think Watkins pops. Somebody else on offense, either Colby, James, one of those guys. West on defense, Nick Martin, Upton Stout. I think those are the three guys that pop on defense. So I think they could have 4 or 5 rookies that pop, and it may not be enough.
I mean,
That's
4.5 is aggressive. I mean, I was thinking as optimistic as possible, the number should be at 2.5. And then I'm like, it might be 1.5. And like, we all know that I'm a big Mykal Williams guy. Okay, let's 1. And that's, by the way, not a universal belief, nor should it be, given that I haven't seen him play football yet at the NFL level. Collins hasn't played football yet at the NFL level. I don't know what Martin is. Don't need to get into it again. I like what I'm seeing from Stout. He's a nickelback. I like what I see from Watkins. He's your 4th wide receiver. We're talking about Connor Colby, a 7th-round pick, or Drew Moss, an undrafted free agent. Like, you need these guys to pop. You need these guys to start and be impact players. And I don't expect
it's a tall
any
ask.
of them to. I don't expect any of them to. And pick number 11, I can't even say that right now. And nobody on the planet, save for maybe the Williams family, is more bullish on Michael Williams than me. And even I can't be like, oh, yeah, he's for sure going to pop. I do not have the same conviction as Johnny Holland.
Look at last year. Last year, they had by all intents and by all grades, a very good draft. Yeah. And yet, if I said to you, how many rookies for the Niners last year in this great draft class that they had actually popped? Wasn't Pearsall didn't. Cowing didn't.
Nope.
So Pooney did. Pooney definitely did.
Yeah.
Renardo Green definitely did.
Okay, I'll give 2, and then Mustafa 3.
Malik Mustafa definitely did. So there's 3 right there.
Yeah.
But that's probably it. Garendo would I'd say that would be I stopped short of that, and nobody else really. Maybe Evan Anderson was nice, but as far as popping, like 3 or 4 guys, and they had a great class. So it just tells you how challenging it really is.
They took 11 guys in this draft, the best drafts, and the Rams had such great drafts. Go look at the Rams draft class. There's a lot of guys who sucked. You're not going for 100. It's almost like baseball batting averages. Like if you get 40%, you're a god in the draft. 50% is just an all-time draft, all-timer. 11, that means, 5 would be an all-time draft. Last year, you can say they nailed their first 5 picks. You can say that. There's a stretch there, obviously, with Pearsall. There's a stretch there with Garendo. Maybe Cowing gets into that conversation, but they cut Jared Kingston, who was their 6th-round pick. Tatum Bethune's a 7th-round pick. I mean, you can like him now, but he didn't do squat for you last year. I mean, Curtis Rourke ain't going to play for you. Junior Bergen might get cut before the start of anything. Connor Colby's fighting with a guy who didn't get drafted. Now, is it fair to put anything on these guys who were drafted late? No. I'm bullish on Sigel. Haven't seen him yet. People are bullish on James. We'll find out. Jordan Watkins, again, 4th receiver, CJ West. We'll find. They need not just to pop, not just to have some impact, but to start and to be like
impactful.
They need
impactful rookies.
They need dudes to do what Pooney did last year,
where you weren't just starting,
but you were really good. Yeah. I mean, it's a tall ask from a team that drafted like shit for 5 years before that.
Right. No question. All right, let's hit the stars, and we're out of here. Artur Gazarian. Larry, I'm here for the Pleasance hype. Also seeing his brother pop in on your earlier stream with Bruce was pretty special. Hoping for big things out of the Pleasance this year. Great job, Larry. Thank you.
What a pleasant thought.
Kenny 49ers. Danny Gray's tearing it up in Philly. Think about that for a second.
No, he's not.
Kenny 49ers. Dieter, is that a pinata behind you?
No.
What is that a lamp? What is that?
It's a lamp with 2 scarves on it.
Oh, okay. It does look like a pinata a little bit.
I'll give you that, but it's not.
The coach is in the house. He says, I get the analogy, but Firster ain't no McKittrick, Larry. Just my opinion.
That's what
I hear you. But, I mean, Coach, I would say this. What's the main difference between Firster and McKittrick? The losing and winning the Super Bowl. I guarantee if McKittrick had lost all those Super Bowls, people would be like, man, McKittrick's overrated. And if the Niners had won a bunch of Super Bowls with this no good lineman situation, except for Trent, I think there'd be a lot of people going Firster's a god. But I hear you. It's
people
hard.
Don't know how to evaluate coaches. I'll tell you this: if Chris Firster got fired, he'd have 10 people giving him a job tomorrow.
I know. And yet I do agree with Coach Firster. If I had to rank them, I'll take McKittrick.
Okay.
Over Firster.
Only one of the best of all time.
Yeah. And he's got rings to prove it. Scotty D says all coaches from the 80s will always be the best in this old man's eyes. These kids don't get what Walsh was, how he changed this city, Bay Area forevermore. Walsh was an amazing coach. No question about that. The coach says, here's 1999. What have you guys seen from the coaching staff? Who's really driving their unit? How's Boyer doing? Is Saleh different from what you remember him last? Is the leadership rested and ready? What's changed with Kyle?
I can bang all these out for you.
Yeah, go ahead. Start with the last one. What's changed with Kyle?
He seems a little more hands-off. a little less stressed. Easy to say that in the spring. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, his tactics will determine what's changed with Kyle.
Will he call the plays?
Oh, I think without question, he'll never give that up. That's the reason.
Some people have suggested that like that was not.
Oh, what? So he can manage the clock? Like what? That's the one thing he's good at.
I mean, seriously.
He's a shitty GM and a bad clock manager. Let's take away the thing that he's unquestionably exceptional at.
All right.
Come on now. Come on.
Yeah, he's going to call plays.
Can I point out on Boyer? It is fascinating to watch them practice special teams. Because they're actually there's an old saying in coaching, like if you don't see your drill in the game, you're doing the wrong drills. And I did not realize how true that was until I watched Boyer actually run special teams drills. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you see that in the game. That's something that's important to have worked out before you get there. And then having watched this team practice special teams from the two regimes prior, it's like, those guys sucked. And it is jarring to me. I was talking to a buddy about this.
It's quite a bit different. I will say that.
It is different. It was. I was talking to a buddy about this a couple days ago, and they have pretty good experience with a very good special teams coach. And he goes, there's like 5 or 6 like really good special teams coaches, guys who like live and breathe special teams, and like that's what they want to be. And the rest of it are guys who just sort of fell into the job because they didn't know who else to give it to, and it's like, oh well, this is my nephew and I guess he could be our special teams coach, and they just sort of stick around in it, but they don't know anything about special teams and they don't think about special teams in any interesting way. And that's what the Niners have had up until this point. So I appreciate that they are focusing on special teams, that they're valuing special teams. They're going to need to, because they're probably going to need special teams to win them a game or two this year. But I just like the way that Boyer runs his practices, because he's actually running interesting and I think constructive drills for things like punt returns and kickoff returns, which I frankly had never seen half of them before. And it should be common practice, some of these drills. I really like what I'm seeing as just a football geek. So I'm in on Boyer. I like where his head's at. And you can tell that he's totally a nerd about this stuff. I mean, he is getting into some nitty gritty, and I would just love to be a fly on the wall with him talking about just the sickest, most deep, dark corners of special teams, which is a totally underutilized facet of winning football.
And Förster and Kasarik are the guys that to me seem like they're really, driving the intensity of their drills. Mm-hmm. Chris is just, all gas, no brakes, screaming and yelling. He just is demanding, and he's given Mikkel a lot of instruction. He's given CJ a lot of instruction. Mm-hmm. You can see, he is hands-on with these guys and driving them really hard. And as far as Förster, Förster admitted to us the other day that he's in the ear of Colby and Pleasance because he sees potential in them.
Yeah.
And he wants to develop them as fast as possible. And you could hear his quote when I read that earlier when it comes to Pleasance. It's like he knows Pleasance has got a lot of talent, but it's like he said it. How fast can we get it out of him? How fast can he actually figure it out?
There's no time for patience at the offensive line game. There's just not enough talent. There's just not enough talent.
So that's one. All right, and we got 2 last ones here. We got 15 sportsmanlike. I'd like to see us acquire Blackman or maybe convert Ramsey to safety for some depth and a veteran receiver with some fuel left looking for a ring. What do you think of those ideas, Dieter? I threw out the guy from the Jets. I know who you're talking about. The guy from Western Kentucky, Hilltoppers, Malachi Corley. Just because I like the idea of a younger receiver as opposed to Amari Cooper or some of these old guys.
Amari Cooper's done. I don't think Amari Cooper's playing football anymore.
Gabe Davis would be fine. I would love to see the Niners get one more receiver.
I'm with you, but it's a tough sell because it's like, oh, we're going to need you for 3 weeks, and then after that we might cut you.
It would have to be somebody like a Corley who has his own role, and he would have to get assurances that he's going to be part of it. But it's.
I don't think they're going to make a move at safety for what it's worth, and
they like the guys they got. They like Pinnock, they like Grant,
and then I forgot the second question there, but
it was convert Blackman, convert Ramsey.
Yeah,
a veteran receiver.
I like the concept of Ramsey at safety. It doesn't seem like that. First off, it would be
unproven there.
he sees the field so well. Like, it would be that's a fun experiment that no one's going to do until it's too late. It worked great for Charles Woodson. I'll tell him that. But and Jalen Ramsey, as weird as this sounds, has some Charles Woodson-like qualities. Not all of them, including arguably one of the greatest athletes of all time. But Jalen Ramsey, with his, he's always been a sort of a read and react corner, right? He's always been a between the ears guy with physicality. He is made to play modern free safety, and it might be in his best interest to get out ahead of it before he becomes a free agent and he can sell it to other teams. I just don't think the Niners are going to be the team to do that, because it's not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. They like where they're at with safety. That's a big splash. It's a big risk, and they don't need him as a corner, or they don't want him as a corner compared to what they have. They don't need him as a safety compared to what they have. So let somebody else do it if anyone does it. And by the way, the Dolphins should just consider doing it, because you can get some. That's a team that needs a little bit of juice, and that might be worth the squeeze for them.
One sportsman likes his Watkins breakout year. Collins is the bust. You heard it here first.
Can't bust if you never play. I mean, you can't divide by 0.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Bill Walton once told me, big man, when the feet go, it all goes. And I'm concerned about how big Collins is, and that the feet seem to have gone.
That's interesting. I'd be such a bummer if he was not ready to help them. Yeah. All right, last thought on the way out the door. What is your biggest Niner concern? Kicker, special teams, O-line, running back depth, pass rush, run defense, red zone offense, wide receiver separation. What exactly is that? If you'd say primary concern for the Niners, I have two.
So I'll give you two as well. It's still run defense. I don't trust the linebackers outside of Fred. And until I see someone hold a goddamn gap, I won't believe that they're going to do it. So run defense, until proven otherwise, is going to be my main concern. And offensively, it's wide receiver separation, because you have a lot of unprovens, and the guys who are proven don't separate. So can Ricky Pearsall get in there and continue what he did at the end of last season? That's a huge boost, but you shouldn't have to be relying an entire pass offense on Ricky Pearsall. I think it might work out for him, but that's not a formula for success. So those are my two major concerns, which, of course, were my two major concerns last year. Now, a lot has changed for me, Lair.
My two major concerns, CMC. CMC's health. Sure. Yeah. CMC has missed at least 10 games in 3 of the last 5 seasons. He's got over almost 1,900 career touches. I'm worried about CMC. I know he feels better now, but he hasn't played football in a while. The health of CMC is my number one concern. My second concern, I hear your run D, and I'm tempted there, but I do believe in some of the run defenders they added. Okay. So I'm gonna go pass rush. Pass rush. I mean, I know that sounds crazy because they got Bosa and
totally
Huff and McKell, and they've done what we want them to do, right? As far as they added some significant pieces. But to me, that is the one concern. I wonder, can they dial up enough heat on the quarterback, and can CMC stay healthy? If they can dial up heat on the quarterback and CMC stays healthy, I like this team to win double digits, maybe 12 or 13, win a playoff game, maybe 2, and have a shot at the Super Bowl. So to me, it's pass rush and CMC's health.
Yeah, those are very viable options.
Yep. All right,
training camp is going to tell us so much, Lair.
Oh, I know. It's going to be great.
There's a lot of volatility on this team, my friend. A lot of volatility.
What do you got cooking tomorrow? Are you for people who want to check you out tomorrow? Are you writing tomorrow?
Yeah,
should I read you in the Merc, or are you on the leader tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow what's your
schedule?
If you're not already a subscriber to the Dieter and Hutch podcast, you can change that right now, and you can watch a video that Jake and I put out today where we did a 53-man roster breakdown.
Sweet.
And it took even longer than we did it here today. Unsurprisingly, and if you're not a member, everyone gets access to that tomorrow morning. You can always read me in the Merc, and then I am starting paternity leave on Monday. I'm taking 2 months off from the Merc.
2 months!
At the very least. Thank you to the state of California and decency. Yeah, we're going to go on a big trip, and I'm going to be gone for a while. And I got
traveling with babies.
Traveling
or driving?
We will be flying. So many flights, Larry. And
good luck.
We're going Scotland, Boston, and Croatia. with a 4-month-old and a 2.5-year-old. And Larry asked me which one I'm more nervous about flying with.
Which one are you more nervous about flying
It's
with?
the 2.5-year-old because she outsmarts me every day. And
Their ears don't pop, right? And then they cry, and it's really bad.
No, she's just going to figure out ways to fuck with me because she thinks that's hilarious. And she's not wrong. It is hilarious for a third party, but it's not funny for me. And I'm looking forward to getting my teeth kicked in by her logically starting at about 5:30 tomorrow morning. So let's get on with that one.
The beaches of Croatia?
The beaches of Croatia, Larry.
I've heard they're beautiful beaches in Croatia.
I have to
what
go
I've
to
heard.
Scotland every year because my wife is Scottish, and we go see her family. And at a certain point, I said, I'm going to need a vacation because you think San Francisco is dreary in the summer. Have I got a place for you? We go to the north of Scotland. So how about we go someplace really, really fun, and or at least with a beach that's hot, and we can do it on the cheap. And Croatia was the answer. So looking forward to that immensely, even though it will probably kill me getting there.
That is awesome. So Dieter and I will not be streaming probably until training camp. I'll be taking a week off, though I will still be working. But we'll pick it up. We'll pick it up.
Y'all
when you
don't care until then. I mean, just put a bookmark in it, and we'll all figure it out on the back end. It'll be fun.
We'll do it. We'll figure it out in August. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy for sponsoring this live stream. Thanks to Dieter. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for the super chats. And that's going to do it for us. 2 hours and 10 minutes into our live stream. Thanks to everybody. Have a great night, everybody. Safe travels, Dieter. Thanks to everybody. Have a great night. Peace. Check me out tomorrow morning with Chase Sr. at 11:45 or 10:45 tomorrow morning. We'll talk more Niners then. Peace.